Good evening, everyone. The appointed time has arrived. Welcome to the February the 6th, 2018 meeting of the Mayor and Council. I'll call this meeting to order officially. And as I look around the room, it's great to see this big crowd tonight. Wish we'd see this every month. And but statistically speaking, just so you know, a large percentage of us have the flu out here right now. We are officially the sickest state in the nation, I heard a while ago. So we're doing vaccinations at the end of the meeting for those that want to stick around. Okay. Our invocation tonight will be by Council Member Shirley Marchman, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
May we pray. Kind Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to live in this land of freedom, and we thank you for letting us wake up this morning and be able to come out and do some business for the city. Lord, we ask that you would direct our minds, that we will do what's pleasing to you and will be beneficial to the whole city. We pray for our nation, we pray for our city, all government officials, and we hope that we can represent our city in the best way that we know how. This I pray in Jesus' name.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Do you use water sometimes? But you can have it with cold. You can do that. Yeah, I had a bit.
It's always my pleasure to recognize our workforce, the ones that make us all look good, and your first contact with our city with these awards. And we have several employees tonight that have service awards that I'd like to ask them to come up. And I'll ask them to come up one at a time, and I guess you're going to take photos. The first one is Spencer Crawford.
Yeah.
Spencer is, I'll tell you a little bit about him. For those of you that have been around for a while, you remember Spencer used to be with our newspaper, the Villa Record here, and did a tremendous job and has done a tremendous job with our police department.
To your left on the table there.
Mark Hanna, if you come up. Mark works for our Public Works Department. I had the pleasure of hiring Mark back some 5 years ago, and before that, and forever, as long as I can remember, Mark was involved in our recreation department as a coach and as a father. And how many kids did you take through our program? 4, I think? 4 kids. So thank you for that, and thank you for your service, Mark. This next person is the person that a lot of you see at City Hall when you come up. Ashley, if you come forward. Ashley's smiling face is always there to greet people, and she's a credit. Again, you're the person that most people see when they see the face of the city, so thank you for all you do. Next person is Charles Davis. Come on up. Charlie's been with us 15 years. I think it feels like probably 30, don't it? I'm going to tell you all a little bit about Charlie. Charlie's the person behind the scenes that you never see that gets most of the stuff done behind the scenes that you never see. And I'm going to give you some examples of that. He's worked on our fleet at the police department and for all of our departments forever. I guess since we started with the city, he has more classifications and certifications than I can think of. But more importantly, when things have happened and people have left, me being one of those persons, Charlie stepped up and took over our streets, road department, and he's the person that's responsible for all our roads always getting taken care of, and snow removal and ice removal. So this is the face you never see that's out there at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning making sure all our streets and roads are clear. So thank you, Charlie. Vic, I'm gonna ask you to come up with this one. Matt, you come up. Vic, I'm gonna get you to explain what this certification means.
Well, first, this is Matt Chavez, and he is a wastewater operator at our West plant. And he just recently obtained his Class 2 wastewater license in record time. He knocked it out of the park first time up, which is no small feat. This is the very first license that you get in wastewater treatment. There's a 3, 2, and 1. But I'm looking at Matt to achieve some great things. He was enthusiastic and eager in his interview, and he has been nothing but that every step of the way on a daily basis, and that's awesome. We really appreciate your commitment.
Again, thank you to all our employees. You know, we sit up here and we talk about things, and we spend your money and we try to save your money. But the folks that work for us, the city employees, are the folks that are out there day in, day out doing the job for us, and we appreciate all the work that all our employees give us. So, okay, we had put on the agenda for the consent agenda, which is, just for those that may not know, we have a work session prior to our Tuesday meeting, and there are certain items in that work session that we have deemed, that we've discussed, and it's a budgeted item, so we'll place them on a consent agenda. This past Thursday was a little bit different because we had 2 council members that were out. We had one that was out of town and one that was sick with flu. Well, I don't know if it was a flu, but he was sick. So we had talked about putting this on here and talk about the items on the agenda and then vote on the consent agenda, and it just occurred to me that probably was nonsense. It would be a waste of time because we're going to discuss them anyway. So with the consent of the council, we're about to vote on the agenda, but I just wanted to explain what we were going to do.
We're striking the consent agenda item?
Yeah, there will not be consented. We'll just discuss each item.
Including uniforms? Uniforms?
Every item,
Okay.
yes. Okay, next item on the agenda is adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion that we adopt the agenda.
As revised.
Have a motion by Council Member McDougal. I'm trying so hard to remember that. And seconded by Council Member Carter. We've changed we don't do, it's neutral, gender neutral now. It's council member, not councilman.
Okay with me.
Okay.
I'm not making what you I think.
Okay. Have a motion second. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. Okay, under council updates, I wanted to make one known. I heard from State Representative Jay Collins last night. We had sent a bill to the legislature asking for redevelopment powers for the city of Villarica, and I was told last night that has been approved now and is awaiting the governor's signature. So what that will allow us to do, just so you'll know, that's the first step in a process, and somewhere down the road, and we hope it'll be this November, the voters will get, in Villarica, will get to vote on a resolution to allow for the creation of a TAD, which is a tax allocation district for the city of Villarica. And you'll hear more about that. This is the very infant stages of it, but you'll hear more about that as we go. So, any other council updates?
I have one just real quick. Was going to mention that Dr. Burnett, the veterinarian that takes care of our animals at the Pine Mountain Museum, is planning to book, and may have already done, booked the mill for a pet jam event June 9th, and basically it would be to bring awareness and affordable discounted packages to Villa Rickens in regard to pets and wildlife health care. So there'll be, as that progresses, I'm sure it'll be in the paper and in the news and that sort of thing.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, moving right along, we have reached the public comments portion of our meeting. Anyone wishing to give public comments, please do so at this time. Come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Not everyone at once.
Kurt Kraft, 2406 Ridge Lake Drive. Have to write this stuff down. 3 minutes isn't a whole lot of time. On the zoning board, we give 10 minutes because we actually want to hear what people have to say. I'm going to start off by saying after I filed 2 open records requests last time, I can very easily say there is no transparency with the Villa Rica City Council, Mayor, and Chief of Police. The first was made asking for documents for a meeting that was held by the mayor, the city manager, and a group only identified as staff. I also asked for the names of the people that were at this meeting because I was not invited to attend this meeting and explain my side. The results of the open records request revealed that no documents, minutes, or anything written down exists of this meeting. So basically, this is again regarding my phone that a clerk up at Russell Cellular downloaded some other woman's information to my phone, and I asked for an investigation and was not given that. So basically, without any information of their own, they determined that no crime was committed and won't tell me who made this decision at the meeting. I received an email from the city manager, Tom Barber, saying that they don't have to divulge the names of the people and I should follow procedures. So since there was no attachment of procedures I should follow, let's just see how transparent you all are right now live. By a show of hands, how many of you were in attendance at this meeting?
Mr. Kraft, to ask the city council to respond to you is inappropriate.
The second open records request I did received information about the water department. In case y'all didn't see in your bill, we got a letter stating that and this came from the water department, that the water quality testing was not done for 9 years plus on radionuclides and for what seems to be 2 years of inorganic chemicals. This contradicts what the mayor said weeks after this report came out with the water bills. In his State of the Union address, he assured us that the water quality was good, kind of cloudy at times, but good. So I filed a complaint with the EPA and EPD and received additional information that not only agreed with the findings of the water department, but the water department failed to include that someone had asked for a 9-year waiver for this radionuclide testing. I'm not an expert at water, but someone apparently in the water department asked for a 9-year waiver for testing of a substance. This in addition to the leaky water system that's gone on for decades. So as a city, we have predetermined investigations and poor police reporting. We got arrogant replies whenever you're trying to report a crime, and no reply from the city council. I've been up here 5 months and I've not gotten one phone call. I've not gotten one reply from any member of the city council up here. The city of Villa Rica is in sore need of oversight from outside government and law enforcement agencies. I will continue to turn to these agencies every time an email or a phone message of this taxpayer is not answered. The city
Mr.
charter.
Mayor.
Yes.
City clerk is trying to get your attention.
Please wrap up. Please be wrapping up your remarks.
Yeah, no, I got 3 minutes. Now, Gil McDougal mentioned that the city charter is his Bible for governing. I I hope you add a chapter to your city charter Bible that's entitled Term Limits, and I'll bet that won't happen. Thank you all.
Okay, anybody else? This will close the public comments portion of the meeting. Tab A, governing body. Council members, you have the meeting minutes from the monthly meeting of January the 9th, 2018, and the special call meeting of January the 18th, 2018.
Mr. Mayor, on the second one, January the 18th, when we came out of executive session, our city attorney made a statement as to what occurred, and it doesn't appear in the minutes, so I would like to table that second one until that shows up. But I would like to make a motion to approve the January 9th minutes.
And I would second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the January the 9th meeting minutes only,
And table the other one.
and table the other one until and I think the city clerk understands what we need to add to that one. Okay, motion and a second, all in favor? It is unanimous. Item number 2, pay parity adjustment.
In the December meeting, we discussed an amendment to the budget to make a pay parity adjustment available to our lower paid staff in an amount totaling no more than $45,000. That was tabled, that was approved, vetoed, not overridden, and then it was requested that it come back to this meeting. The recommendation that you have before you is for about $37,000 in adjustments to people in that operate out of the general fund, with that additional expense being covered by an increase in building permit revenue, and then a little bit more than $7,000 in the water and sewer fund, with that being covered by an increase in sewer taps. There were no employees in the sanitation fund subject to those adjustments, so those would be the only 2 adjustments we're recommending. Would take us just under the not to exceed amount of $45,000.
This proposed motion has money in the water sewer fund of $7,300. Is that still part of this? Okay.
Right, nothing for sanitation.
And I do want to thank you again, Tom and staff, for adding something to our council agendas, and that is a motion. I think that's very helpful for us on council and also for our city clerk to make sure that we get down exactly what the motion is and what's approved, so.
I just want to caution the council in the future, I'm not against this one, but in the future, we're increasing the budget here. If we keep pulling money, it's going to take away from our funds balance. Instead of the money going into the funds balance at the end of the year, we will be using it up. So we want to increase our funds balance in the future. Let's not keep pulling money into the budget.
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we move to increase the 2018 general budget by up to $37,700 for salary, payroll taxes, offset by a corresponding increase in building permit revenue, and we increase the 2018 water sewer fund budget by up to $7,300 for salary and payroll taxes, offset by a corresponding increase in sewer tap fees, and this would be effective January 1st, 2018.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion? If not, all in favor? Unanimous. Item number 3, downtown conceptual design.
Chris and I and the staff have been working for a long time on different parts of the plan to redevelop our downtown. As I have become familiar with all the efforts that have taken place by staff and consultants, it's become clear that we're in danger of throwing good money after bad by potentially doing some things that we would have to undo as required by future utility improvements. In addition, we have a significant number of site location questions to answer, some of whom have come up because of the impact of Project Roll and what that would have done to City Hall. Some just because of our desire to better utilize the facilities that we have. And so I'm recommending that we take a step back for a minute and we bring in someone who's already involved with the city historically and currently on the land use plan to help us and sort of force us to back up and take a bigger conceptual look at what revitalizing downtown is going to involve. I feel like what we'll get out of that is clear direction about water, sewer, and stormwater, which I think need serious upgrades. Otherwise, we run the risk of making street and sidewalk improvements and street tree improvements and the railroad park improvements and whatever else we come up with, only to turn around and undo them, dig them up, redo them, and then it all having a patchwork look. And in addition, I think there's some land acquisition issues that we need to face. There's some financial issues that we need to face about what all that is going to cost and where that money's coming from. And at this point, I just feel like if we keep going the way we're going, it's just too much of a piecemeal kind of approach. And none of us on staff have the time and probably don't have the perspective to be that person. I don't feel like any of us can back up and sort of become the general contractor, orchestrator of this whole thing. We need somebody to come in that's done that. And Ron has done that in Ackworth. So he not only has history with the city, is currently involved in the city, has the skill set we want, but he's actually done it for a city over a long period of time and been effective. So that's my recommendation. It's open-ended. It's a $12,500 start. I don't know where that's going to take us, but to roll that sort of back into what the Mayor, you were saying earlier about redevelopment, what redevelopment powers would do if approved by the voters is give us the authority to create a tax allocation district. That tax allocation district requires a redevelopment plan. So what I see happening is the RSVP plan that's already being done and the comp plan that's being worked on, and then the work of this effort resulting in our redevelopment plan. And that's what we would move into with the tax allocation district. So that's my recommendation.
Is the $12,500 in the budget? Is that a budgeted item?
We have engineering money that we can use for that, yes.
So basically what this person is, like you mentioned the comp plan, the RSVP plan, which specifically downtown,
Right.
involves downtown, but it also includes our monies for road improvements, for sidewalk improvements, water sewer improvements, all these things, tying them together so that, like you said, we don't pave a road and then 6 months come back and say, oh, we forgot to put the sewer line down the middle of the road. So this is, Ron has worked with us before on several projects here, and that's his, expertise is planning, community planning. So I think it's money well spent on the front end so that we don't make mistakes on the back end.
How much, what kind of input is the community going to have with this?
I don't see any reason it would be different than the other two. RSVP, I think you did pretty good input from what I've heard. I wasn't here then, but
We had a lot of
a
people.
lot of public input during the land use plan that's in process now. So I would think this would just be a third step with that same sort of approach.
I just don't want to get back into an issue where we invite some guy from Kansas to come in and tell us what our city's going to look like.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah,
And
he's
two things.
I don't know, I can't remember where Ron lives. Maybe in Cobb County, so it's not Kansas.
Berlin, that's the same.
Nothing against Kansas though, right?
Nothing like Kansas.
Mayor,
Well, it doesn't start with a C, so that's at least, you got that for you.
Mayor Reese, two things. I noticed that in their proposal, when they're putting the boundaries of the city, they mention the central business district to the west, central business district, east Mirror Lake Boulevard, north Dallas Highway, and south by Interstate 75. I'm thinking something's wrong there.
Yeah, it's either 20 or 78, but I mean, if he's talking about an interstate, he's talking about 20.
It's got to be
so-
20 or something, so.
Ken, don't write that down. We're not annexing all of
We
it.
don't want to
75.
be targeting fixing up things all the way to 75. The only other thing is, when you just said something like, I don't know where this takes us, I want you to put me at ease and whatever other citizens might be going, what did you mean by, we're going to spend this money, but I don't know where this takes us?
I honestly, after 6 months, I can't wrap my head around everything we're trying to do. It's overwhelming, the scope of it. When you talk about potentially doing all the things that we've discussed since I've been here. We have talked about a lot of items in downtown. When you take just the Mirror Lake connector and all that downtown stuff with the hotel and the parking deck and all that, and relocating City Hall and potentially moving the police station and streetscape and what we do with the railroad park and how we fix the intersection of North Carroll and Temple and
Roundabouts.
61 and what we do with Chiefs Railroad Crossing and on and on and on and on and on is, you know, we need help to either not just to give us clarity, but also to force us to do it, because we still got all of our daily jobs and just running the place to do. So this is an add-on to our daily job, and I just honestly I don't know where it's going to take us. Best case is it takes us somewhere wonderful. It gives us a vision that we could not individually create. And right now what we've got is huge individual efforts that are not connected except haphazardly. I want it to be more intentional, that we've connected all these pieces and figured out water and sewer and sanitation and stormwater before we start building on top of it.
I would just say that, to me, it's refreshing to hear Tom talk about it as though these are big ideas and it's complicated, and that we're bringing a lot of folks in to help us with this. Some people might look at it a different way, but I think everything we do is going to be big for a long time to come, and that planning is the big part of it. So I see this as a great idea.
Okay, so I think I understand then, because I was taking it as, hey, we're going to spend $12,500, but I don't know what we're getting for it. You were talking about backing up and just looking at the whole picture of all we have to deal with, one bite at a time.
Yeah,
Just gonna have to do one
I'm just
bite
not sure
at
we
a
can
time.
do it even.
I think what'll come out of it is somebody looking at everything and making sure we don't do a project and then turn around and have to undo part of the project to get something else done. So it's going to get things organized.
And we've been
We
talking
need
about that for a
organization.
couple years, that we don't want to go down and put in sidewalks and streetscape
We don't want to
where
tear
you have
things
to
up.
put in new water lines and then
You
tear
have
it
to
up.
go and
That'd be
dig it back up.
ridiculous.
Yeah, we don't want that. That would be costly.
How often have you seen that happen in this city? I've seen it a lot. I've seen roads get paved to go back and cut through them 10 or 12 more times to go back and do what you knew you had to do from the beginning. That's not really addressing that here, but this is about planning, and that's why I like this idea.
I do too. I'll make the motion, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion that we engage Ron Huffman of AMEC to help the city develop a unified conceptual plan for the redevelopment of downtown in an amount not to exceed $12,500.
And I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay, item number 4 is 2018 cleanup days.
The city has historically had a spring cleanup day. As I've talked to to staff about the specifics of this, to make a recommendation to you guys, it became obvious that there's a parallel effort being made by Keep Carroll Beautiful that we could maybe better utilize. So my thinking is that instead of us doing a spring cleanup, that we work with Keep Carroll Beautiful to maximize the benefit of their effort, even though their effort is single days, I think, right? 3 single days. Help me a tire day, an electronics day, and a paint battery day, which are things that are not commonly picked up. That we work with them. That's a March day, an April day, and an August day, and so we come back with our weekly cleanup in September. So that's my first recommendation, is that we go away from what we've been doing to a September day, a September week, that we try to keep that off of a week where we have a weekend event, if that makes sense, so that we have a full 5 days that we can focus on this, and that the Wednesday of that week be the day that we offer to seniors to assist them if they have appliances or something similar in their yard, not in their house, that we would go on their property if they sign a waiver that the city attorney is going to prepare for us, and that we would actually go onto the property and help them with junk appliances or whatever to get that in the truck as well.
And I said this Thursday, I'm going to say it again, and I may have just stole Council Members Best thunder here, but Council Member Best and Marchman have carried this torch for many, many years. I remember as a city employee being involved in this, and you know, it's one of those things that you don't really see. You know, we spend an entire week cleaning up the city for the residents. You can put what, you know, there are limitations, but a lot of things you can put out at the curb and the city will pick them up that week. And it keeps our city looking good. But there are other benefits too. And Tom made a good point the other day to me in the office. He said, you know, Mayor, he said, I don't think you understand the benefit that has that you don't see. And that is, if you go to a lot of cities, you'll see streets with, you know, garbage and refrigerators and things piled up on the sides of streets, and then, you know, undeveloped subdivisions, and you really don't see that in Villa Rica. Occasionally you may see it here and there, but you just really don't see it. Our city is very clean. So that's benefit number 1. Benefit number 2, from a mosquito standpoint, a lot of these tires, how many tires did we get up last year, Charlie? 400 tires for that week that we picked up. That's 400 breeding areas for mosquitoes. So I think that's a very effective mosquito control program in and of itself. So I like the idea of teaming up with Keep Carroll Beautiful. I think that by doing it in the spring and then again in the fall, our city will just benefit even that much more. So.
I guess the only issues that I bring up is the fact that during September, we're playing football at the rec department. Just before the grass starts turning green, would be a lot, that's the usual time that we do the week-long cleanup, simply because you can pick up a lot more things without being wrapped up in vines and rose bushes and whatever. It really doesn't matter to me when we do it. It just needs to be done every year. And I use the terminology, last year I put 26,000 miles on my truck fishing. And every time I go fishing, the first thing I do when I go to a town is look and see how clean it is. And when I come back, I compare Villa Rica to wherever it's at, whether it be Milledgeville or Augusta or Columbus or Montgomery or Gunnersville or Nashville, Tennessee. It doesn't matter. I compare this town to those cities. At one time, we didn't compare. Now, we're on the verge of being the best of all those. I just want to keep it clean and continue that process and make everybody aware. And that's the reason that in September, or every year, we need to do it. If we're going to do it in September, fine, but everybody needs to understand that from the next 10 years, we're going to do it every September. So.
Because we're working with Carroll, Keep Carroll Beautiful, does that mean then we won't be picking up tires? The tires are going to all be done by their tire recycling, where you take the tires there and drop them off?
That's my recommendation.
Well, because I'm thinking, what I heard when I listened, I think, to the work session, I listened to the streaming of y'all when I wasn't here, was that some tire company decided they'd come in the city and dump a bunch of tires for us, which cost us money because we have to pay whatever fee it is for those tires when we take them. And I don't want to be paying for somebody outside the city that's decided they're going to come in and make our taxpayers pay for what should be taken care of by their business. So if Carroll tomorrow is going to do all the tires, then we don't have to do any tires, and we can avoid that.
That's true. It's happened in the past. We pay, if we pick up, no matter how many we pick up now, passenger car tires cost us $10 to dispose of at the landfill. And if a tire has a steel wheel in it, that's $35.
Goodness gracious.
So we try to unmount the ones we can. But if we pick up larger truck tires, those can be in the $30 and $40 range too. So the one thing about doing it with Carroll Beautiful is we'll eliminate thousands of dollars of cost on the tire pickup if the program works. And they'll take the first 5 for free, and they'll sit up at the V-Plex, I believe. And after that, it's $5 a tire. It doesn't matter to them whether there's a wheel in it or what size it is or anything else. But it has potential to save us thousands of dollars.
Charlie, do we have a date for Keep Carroll Beautiful for the tire pickup?
I don't have it with me, but
Vicky's got it. Charlie.
Yeah. Are we sure they're going to do it again this year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vicky's got it set up.
We're doing 3.
The date for the tire recycling that they're proposing is March 17th, which is a Saturday. I'm going to come back with the final numbers. They're still working on with their partner organizations. E-recycling, what they're proposing now is to change that weekend and to potentially move that out to V-Plex, just to make sure that their partner is on board. And their hazardous waste day is proposed, I want to say it's August 13th. Hold on. So, but I will certainly make sure once they confirm with all of their partner organizations to bring that to you. But it was changing as of actually this past Friday, but you'll have it.
Okay, well, I certainly support partnering to do these tires as opposed to having the city pick up this cost, but I would want to make sure that we communicate that to the public as part of this in a partnership kind of way.
Okay, they're going to set up in the V-Plex, and we got to take the tires to them, right? They're not going to come get the tires, or are they?
Right, yeah, you throw them in your trunk or the back of your truck, or get your son or your neighbor or your cousin or your uncle to get them over to the
Right, it'd be individuals.
Yeah, we have to take them down to the V-Plex.
Correct.
Wouldn't be the city, it'd be each
Right.
individual.
Right, we take our...
Yeah,
but
by
take
them
your own,
doing
or
it and us
talk to
not
a
doing
friend
it,
that
we're
is doing
hoping
it.
to avoid the situation where a used tire company comes into one of our half-built neighborhoods and just dumps 100 tires in a lot, and then we get to pick them up and pay for them. That, to me, that's just dumb.
Yeah, but if someone still dumps those tires, what are we gonna do?
This might be a real good time, too, to throw into our Villa Rica happenings or something. If people see illegal dumping, what to do. I'm assuming 911, where's Chief? 911, because I had a contractor or something come in and do that in one of the neighborhoods in my ward where things weren't built up, and they're coming in dropping limbs and things like that on vacant lots.
Charlie's told me a story of what neighborhood was that? The tires were Augusta Woods.
Yeah, it was
Where
vacant
was the
lots in
trailer?
Use your
back
phone,
part of
take
Augusta
pictures.
Brook, Yeah.
Take pictures, get their
I
tag,
also
whatever.
have problems out on the, near the city limits out Connors Road out that way.
We definitely need the public's help if someone comes in with a load of tires and wants to dump them somewhere in the city.
Yeah.
I think we may,
Tom, what are you looking for is there not a motion here?
He's looking for a motion.
Did I not put a motion on?
Yeah, you
I don't
did.
know, I
Here's the
couldn't see it.
I see it.
I couldn't open it.
I'll
I'm
make
ready.
it.
Okay.
hold on, I got an issue with anything we have at the V-Plex during baseball or football season.
I think opening day's like April 9. When's football wrap up?
We
Football's
looked
done.
at that, and
November?
essentially it happens just, even like last year when we did it, we do it on the end of the football field, closer to the playground. So most of the traffic has gone further in. But we didn't have any problems or complaints last year when we did it. The other part of that is we look to do it at that particular time as opposed to in the fall when football certainly pushes all of the traffic to, as it relates to
Right, yeah.
parking at that end of the facility on Saturdays. So one of the reasons why we pushed the hazardous waste day up to August, because what they were originally requesting was September, and you're already into the days that we're starting to play, and the weekends become really busy there, so.
Yeah, I think April 9 is opening day.
Okay, we have a motion. Did I hear a second?
I haven't done the motion yet.
Oh, I thought you had started.
No,
He's
no,
trying.
we're waiting for everybody to finish speaking. Okay, I'll move the city council establish the week of September 17th of 2018, obviously, as our annual cleanup week, with Wednesday, September 19th designated as the day we provide special assistance to the seniors who need that.
Second.
Have a motion and a second by Councilman McPherson. Any further discussion? Council member?
No, you
McPherson.
just, councilman,
All in favor?
council person, I'm good.
Okay, it is unanimous. Okay, if the council will indulge me, we had a distinguished gentleman come into our midst, and I would like to amend the agenda at this time to allow State Representative Jay Collins to come forward and give us the news and tell us what's happening at the Gold Dome, if that's amenable to the council.
Yes.
Okay. Representative Collins, please come forward.
How appropriate I come up when y'all talk about refit tires.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to give you a brief update. The legislation that you had asked me to draft up and propose with the redevelopment powers, that was placed in the House hopper this morning. I had it drafted, and we did the legal notice in the paper. Your city attorney got me the notice, and so we placed that in the House hopper today, myself and Micah Gravely. So that'll be going into committee very soon, and that should pass the House with no problem, and then we'll get it over to the Senate, where Senator Dugan has already said he would make sure that it goes through there. So hopefully in the next 2 weeks, that piece of legislation will be done for you. Just know that your state representative is working hard for you. I've taken this posture that I think less legislation is the best, and it was ironic that the first piece of legislation that the House passed this session cleaned up some legislation from last session. So I stand by that. If there's an issue that you have with state government, please, constituents, don't hesitate to give us a call, contact me. Very easy to get a hold of. I got a Facebook page. I got an office there over in the Capitol, and I'm willing to listen to you and try to help you any way that I can. Y'all have anything you want to Brent?
Would you want to mention anything about the meeting with Norfolk Southern?
Yes, we are putting together that meeting, and hopefully we'll have all the parties at the table this Friday. I've spoken with Connor Poe with Norfolk Southern, and we should have a representative from DOT there. I wanted to have a representative from DOT just because, it's transportation. They don't have a lot of oversight, but they do have some influence there with Norfolk Southern. So I know people are very frustrated at this point in the district because you have Temple and Villa Rica both that are receiving some much-needed crossing maintenance. And just bear with us through that, because that process, they go through and they rip out the crossing and they come back and put it back in. That slows down train traffic because there's maintenance going on the line. Plus, it creates just a lot of frustration when you're crossing over those areas. Those crossings are very rough right now, so I just want to say to our constituents, please be aware of that. But we will have a meeting with Connor from Norfolk Southern on Friday, and I'll get with you and let you know exactly what time he's going to be coming out. And I've spoken to Chairman Marty Smith, and he will be there as well. So hopefully we'll have all the local layers of government represented in that meeting. And, I don't know what all we can do, but at least we're trying to let the folks know that we know there's a problem, and we're trying to address it. The railroad was here obviously before the city was. I think you can go in City Hall and you can look and see that advertisement where the railroad were bringing people out here to buy property. So, they have a right to kind of do what they want to do, but we have a right to push back and let them know what our constituents are feeling and how they're being impacted. Anything else?
I think you have someone in the audience, I think if you want to.
Yeah, do you mind for a second? Yes.
Representative Collins.
Yes, ma'am.
We've sent 2 letters to you last year, and we haven't heard back yet.
I'm working on that with your crossing.
Okay,
Yes, I know about that. That's something that we've been working on strongly.
thank you.
It's just a matter of getting the parties involved to get that done. Yeah. And she's talking about the crossing there in front of Charleston Place.
Okay.
On Highway 61. That was something that, as mayor, we knew that the constituents there have an issue with that crossing. But, that's a state route, and it takes a lot of work to get one of those crossings put into place. It's a very unfortunate situation, but it is what it is, and we'll try to work through that.
On behalf of the council, thank you for your efforts at the Gold Dome and representing your district well.
Thank you.
See you on Thursday.
And tomorrow is Douglas County Day at the Gold Dome, by the way. So look forward to seeing our friends from Douglas County. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on to tab B, item A, write-off uncontrollable customer balances from 2015 to 2017. I want to underscore that because I think that's been reported, not by anyone in this room, but it has been reported that part was left out of the equation. This is a writing off from 2015 to 2017, just not from 2017.
Correct. Okay. So yes, it was discovered that the previous manager would just write off the old customer balances without bringing it to the council. So that procedure was stopped at the beginning of 16, and we haven't done it since. So at the end of 17, we looked at all the old customer balances. These are customers that have moved away. These are not current customers that are not paying. These are final accounts that have left balances with us. The total is $95,661. It is for 613 accounts. So we're asking the council to approve that we write them off. This would be writing it off in the billing system, and as well as from an accounting standpoint. As far as how it's going to affect the books, it's only going to be a net impact to our books of $19,364, because every year as part of my year-end entries, I have to allow for a certain percentage of our accounts to be uncollectible. I think I said this last time. Uncollectible accounts are it's kind of unavoidable in this business. However, the biggest impacts we can make are through our policies and procedures. So some of the things we've done this year, the cycle billing change and shortening the time from when someone's water meter is read to when they don't pay to when we cut them off.
Those are the things that we're seeing the decrease in the uncollectible accounts. Also, I would like to bring y'all next month a change in the deposit amount for renters. I would assume most of these accounts are renters that have just walked away with balances, and we have no hold on them. We do send these balances to collections, and they do pursue that, but usually we just get kind of a drop in the bucket on that. So again, the biggest impact is going to be increasing our deposit amount for renters. So we look at this, it's $95,000. If our deposit, right now it's 100 for both owners and renters of properties. If it was 200, let's say for renters, that would cut that in half, assuming the majority of these are renters. So that would make one of the bigger impacts. That way, when they do leave, the deposit can take care of any balance they have left behind. Also, again, shortening the time from when we're cutting people off. This graph here shows the decrease in accounts receivable on our final accounts from 2014 to 2017. That blue amount is, you can see, in 2014 was $200,000. That was the amount owed to us by people that had walked away from their accounts, or finalized their accounts, I should say. And now at 2017, it's down to $100,000. And most of that is going to be these old balances that we'll be writing off. The green part in that graph is the current balance, which I thought was interesting. In 2014, again, these are people who have left their accounts, finalized their accounts. They walked away from over almost $150,000 in current accounts. So they hadn't even paid their most recent bills, much less older bills. But we've dropped that down significantly. So we are making significant progress, and we will continue to do so as we, as we started cutting people off without letting them go 3 months. Now we're trying to do just a few weeks. So basically 1 month instead of 3 months.
During the work session, we discussed this, and we asked about collection agencies, and you said we only work with one.
Right.
And I believe it was brought up that maybe the city manager could look into whether or not we can work with others, because apparently this one isn't doing us any good.
I think it's just kind of, they don't have any hold on these people besides threatening to put it on their credit. And if they aren't interested in buying a house or building up their credit report, I mean, what does that do?
I don't know. I'm not a collection agency, so I'm sure they have ways of getting around things, but
Well,
why would we just deal with one? Why can't we deal with more than one?
no, I'll definitely look into it, but I also mentioned when I went to my conference in October, this was with finance directors from other cities and counties. We asked the director from, I believe, Dunwoody, and he said, I don't want to deal with collection agencies. My biggest impact is what I can do. They're going to go for the low-hanging fruit, and that's what we can take care of by changing our policies with the deposit amount and also when we cut off. So.
And I understand, I was listening in on the streaming because I was out sick at the work session, but we are taking the biggest impacts. We by implementing cycle billing, which we did last year, I think that's going to make a huge impact. And you just said you were going to come back to us with a different deposit amount, which I think is also going to mitigate this problem. I agree with Chris from Dunwoody. Not that I disagree with this Chris, but from Dunwoody, that most of the impact we can have is going to be right here in-house, and I appreciate what we're doing there, so I'm happy with that. Whether or not we get another collection agency, fine. Do everything you can to collect the money. I think that we'd all agree with that.
Right.
But let's do things in-house to mitigate this problem going forward. So I'm happy to write these off and get moving to clean our books up so I can see next year the impacts that we've taken late last year and now on the future of these uncollectible accounts.
Ditto what Council McDougal said, that our biggest thing we already did.
Right.
I do have a concern, though. You said that we assume they're renters. Is there a way that we can know one way or another? And I'll tell you just why. Before we hit renters up, because I do have concerns sometimes about put yourself in the place of the person who's paying first, last, security. I want to know if that's really where our problem is. When we bought our rental house off of Punkintown Road, the owner left hundreds of dollars. Now, they wouldn't get away with it now because they wouldn't get so far behind. We're not letting people get that far behind. So that change in policy will fix that. But the owner left hundreds of dollars, and it ended up impacting us when we bought it because there was a broken line. But before we go say we want renters to pay more, I want us to be able to show evidence that there's a real problem with renters walking away. And then again, put ourselves in the place of somebody who's trying to pay all that. And let's keep it I mean, I want to protect the city, but I don't want to slam people that are maybe struggling as it is to get into a rental with all the different fees and deposits you have to pay.
Okay.
And you're going to come back to us next month with that information anyway in that proposal?
Yes.
Not to in any way take away from what Councilwoman McPherson said, but I own rental property as well. I think it seems pretty common sense. I mean, if we can use that, those are the folks who most impact this uncollectible balance, just simply because owners they're there a lot longer. I mean, it's just unlikely that they're the culprit here, but I'd like to see the data as well. And I know that on the application it says, are you a renter, are you an owner, and the qualifications are different. So I know the information's there. I would make a motion to write off the 613 accounts deemed to be uncollectible with a total balance not to exceed $95,661.29.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is seconded by Council Member McPherson. And I just want to make a comment. I thought all the high points were hit, but this is a part of accountability. You know, when this council made the decision to go up on water, sewer rates, utility rates, we also understood loud and clear that we needed to be more effective and more efficient as a city. And so that's what this is a part of. By shortening the billing cycle, that closed the gap. And staff bringing back us, we have a CFO in place that brings us back and says, you know what, this hasn't been done in the past, but I want the council to know that we're about to write this amount of money off rather than $95,000 just not be accounted for in our budget. So hats off to our staff for doing that also, and to this council for being prudent with taxpayers' money. So that's what this is all a part of, and whatever it takes. I agree with the assertion that we have more control in-house making changes to policies than we do to try to recover the money after the fact. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all in favor? It is unanimous.
Mayor, while we're talking about customer service, can I give an update on our latest?
Please do.
So rate increases are effective February 1st, and we have sent out our first cycle of bills this past Monday, sent it to our third party, so bills should be hitting the mailboxes this week, I think. Trash cans are being delivered to the customers who did not have a trash can previously, now that our trash service is mandatory. We've been working with Waste Industries. They've been taking it day by day, so basically route by route to deliver those cans. So last I heard, I think they should be finishing up maybe Wednesday. And after that, I plan on sending out a call saying, if you haven't received a can yet, please let us know. And we'll be prorating the trash amount this month since they didn't have their can till this week. That'll all be in the call that we send to them this week. Also, I wanted to update y'all on the number of seniors that did make application for the low-income senior discount. So before we went through this, we had about 670 seniors that had the discount. And since we had made the change, we've received 182 applications that did qualify. So that's 27% of that original number. So almost a fourth, a little bit higher than a fourth of what we had. And we had 20 that applied that made too much. And we had 12 customers that didn't provide all the documentation that we required, and my staff's been calling them several times. We haven't gotten that yet, so we haven't applied it to them yet, but that could be 12 more. So.
All right, let me boil this down for those of you that are going, what? Okay, when the motion was made, decision was made to increase utility rates, there was a number set for low-income seniors, and that number was 24.2, is that correct?
$24,120.
$24,120. That's one of the items that I vetoed, and I'm not going to belabor that point, but one of the things that I think this council wanted to see was, and certainly I did, was how many seniors were just outside that number that perhaps should be included in that senior tax exemption. So what we included was a means for citizens that may be in that 24 to 30 to, I don't even want to use a number really, but it gives them an avenue to fill out that application so that this council can look at that later in the year and determine if that's the number that we feel like it should be, or perhaps it should be adjusted. So that's what we're talking about.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I think you accidentally said tax exemption, but we're actually talking about a water
Yeah,
discount.
I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure we're clarifying on that. But, so, we had 600 before, and in the very first month, or by the time we did the first billing, we had 27% of that, which was 180 already that have applied and been approved.
And been approved, yes.
Based on the numbers that we've already established, and you have some 20 others in process.
Correct.
Because you need different information. I appreciate that information, and I want to see next month that
Okay.
same kind of information. Let's see where we're at month by month, so that we can make a decision if we've done the right thing here, or if we need to modify.
Okay. Yeah, once those first bills go out, we may get some more.
Thank you, sir.
When did we take the tax exemption off of that? I don't remember doing that. There was a tax exemption,
We're not,
senior citizen tax exemption,
yeah, we're not talking about the tax exemption here. We're talking about the
just the discounts.
Discount
the
for the
discount
water,
on
sewer.
utility rates.
Okay.
Well, and garbage, I guess.
Okay, item number 2.
So, council adopted the new fiscal year, and in 2018, we have to have a short year, January 1st through September 30th, in order to make that change, and then the new fiscal year will run October 1st to September 30th going forward. And we just need a resolution set by the council so that I can send that to the state to notify them of our change.
We're getting a little spoiled here. We don't actually have a written motion here.
As a resolution.
So I guess the motion would be to adopt the resolution as submitted to the council. David?
Yes, that's correct.
I would make that motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a proper second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Unanimous.
Thank
Thank you, Sarah. Tab C, Human Resources, Ms. Rooks.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just have a little bit of housekeeping that I need your permission to do. Currently, our 457B plan, which is the supplemental retirement plan that we offer to our employees, we need to change the trustee from our former city manager to our current city manager. And I just need you to give him permission to sign the documents, so he becomes the trustee. It does not increase his workload or signature authority or anything of that nature, because I am also an authorized signer, but we need the trustee to be the city
I would
manager.
make a motion that we authorize the city manager to sign the required documents.
Second.
Have a motion in multiple seconds. All in favor?
That one was pretty easy.
It is unanimous.
I'm looking at
Thank you, Stephanie. Tab D, Community Development, Mr. Elliott.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Evening.
We have an application for an alcoholic beverage license for retail packaged malt beverages and wine sales. The applicant is Walgreens, doing business as Rite Aid. Licensee is Karen Elizabeth Turner. Her address is 202 Stonewood Creek Drive, Dallas, Georgia 30132. And the store location is 62 Industrial Boulevard, land lot 163, 6th District, Carroll County, Ward 5. Staff has reviewed the application. All the requirements of the ordinance, alcoholic beverage ordinance, have been met, and staff recommends approval.
Okay, any questions of staff? Is the app,
I'll make a motion, we approve.
what we're gonna,
Does this need a hearing?
No, there have not been any objections filed, so there's no need for having a public hearing.
Is the applicant present?
the applicant's here, I mean, I normally, don't we read them the,
That's right, the Riot Act.
would the applicant
We
come
read
forward?
it in a really nice way, don't worry, it's okay.
Riot sounds rough,
Yeah,
but we also mean business by it.
We check, see if you can tell age, you know. Do you know how old we are?
It got a little serious in December, I believe, right?
Yeah, Ms. Turner, it's been our tradition to just remind any applicants that there is a drinking age in Georgia, and that it's incumbent upon your store to make sure that they honor that and not sell to anybody underage. Our police department has been very good about going out and enforcing that law.
I think he knows. He's hit us about 12 times. We're good. Be fast.
Well, and you
Sounds
have,
a little
since you are a large store, you have a program in place to train all your cashiers to card people
Yes,
when
and
they
it's
come
an
in.
ID all program.
Okay.
Every single person.
Everybody.
Everybody.
ID everybody.
Everybody. Doesn't matter.
That's a good
Even
plan.
Grandpa.
Even Grandpa.
Even Grandpa. They don't like it, but I smile.
I think it makes them feel good. Good idea.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I just want to say, for the record, I started doing this the last applications that we have. This council takes this very serious. When we approve an alcohol permit, we want these business owners to know that not only do we watch as a police department, but as the council as well. We had a young person in this community killed in a tragic accident in Douglas County several years ago where alcohol was sold to an underage young person. And I don't take that very lightly. I knew that family. I continue to know that family. And so we are very serious about that, and we hope that our business owners, those that have these permits, take it as serious or more serious than we do.
Now then, I'll make a motion we approve the alcohol beverage license for Walgreens DBA Rite Aid.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? 4-1. Item number 2.
Mr. Mayor, we also have an application for an alcoholic beverage license for wine, malt beverage, and distilled spirits pouring license. The applicant is Barnwell Foods LLC, doing business as Jefferson's of Villa Rica. Licensee is Gloria Denise Sanford. Her address is 195 Woodland Circle, Piedmont, Alabama 36272. The location is 750 West Bankhead Highway. It's land lot 157, 6th District, Carroll County, Georgia, Ward 5. Here again, staff has reviewed all the alcoholic beverage ordinance requirements and found the license application to comply fully. We also, here again, recommend approval. And I know the applicant is present.
Would one or both of y'all like to come forward? We'd like to welcome y'all to the community. If y'all don't know where they're located, the old, next to the Georgia State Patrol office, they're opening a Jefferson's restaurant. There is a Jefferson's restaurant in that city to the south of us, but they're not associated with that one. And I think you all own the 2 locations in Cedartown and Rockmart. So first of all, welcome to our community. We're looking forward to having you as part of our community here.
Everybody's been really, really good.
Especially Nairi and Bobby.
Yes, they've helped us a lot.
We love to hear that. All right, David, you're on.
Yeah, like we ask everybody, y'all are already running businesses apparently, so you know the seriousness of making sure that you don't have any underage sales at your facility. The police here in Villa Rica do run undercover operations fairly regularly, and the expectation is that you will train your staff to expect that, and because not only will they be the ones that will be getting ticketed or arrested if they make the sale, but you'll get the opportunity to come back here to this council and explain why it happened.
We have a corporate manual we go by. It's no ID, no alcohol, and we've had people, you guys age, my age, that come in and
Did he just
they
call
get
us
mad.
old?
Which guys are you talking about?
I didn't bring my ID, and I'm sorry.
Right.
We've been in Alabama and Georgia, and we've never been arrested. Our alcohol sales are 12% of 88% food, 12% alcohol in Rockmart, and 89 and 11% alcohol in Cedartown.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that grand opening is March the 5th.
We're just waiting on the sign. I haven't been down there in a while, I guess. I'm looking forward to it.
Looks good.
It's where Trading Post was at one time, and then the one that's turned into 3 things since then.
I know where it is.
Well,
I didn't think.
I don't drink, but I will tell you, I opened up a cold Dr. Pepper and celebrated when I saw that y'all were coming to town. I think this is great.
You just don't get on that side of town.
Oh, I do.
We're happy. Well,
All right, I would entertain a motion.
Restaurant.
It is my recommendation that we approve the alcohol beverage application for Barnwell Foods LLC DBA Jefferson's of Villa Rica located at 750 West Bankhead Highway.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? 4-1.
Nothing personal.
Okay, item number 4. Nope.
3.
Item number 3.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Lenny's Lyons, Planning and Zoning Specialist in Community Development, presenting case RA 0417 for David Wiley of Dallas, Georgia, requesting rezoning for property located at 1030 3rd Street, Villa Rica, Georgia. Parcel V030100013, land lot 190, 6th District, Carroll County. Currently zoned R20 for single-family residential, and the rezoning is for LI Limited Industrial. Background, Mr. Wiley submitted the application to rezone the property. His proposed use will be equipment storage. The parcel is about 10.81 acres in Ward 3. Staff has reviewed the application. The limited industrial rezoning is consistent with our future land use map, which designates that area as an industrial use for our future land use. So it is consistent with our future land use plan. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions for reasons to limit the uses to equipment, material, and supply storage, since that is what the applicant is seeking. And because of the location of the property, the only access point is on 3rd Street currently. And if you know that area, it's a mix of residential and industrial, and the only access point being 3rd Street is a very narrow road, and for what the applicant is proposing, it would be inappropriate for that kind of traffic to come through that way. The applicant proposed in his application to create an access point from Sabre Parkway through working with the neighbors from the Sabre Industries that's also on Sabre Parkway, and a church that's adjacent. So the conditions are dealing with that. The access easements need to be provided to the community development director before occupancy. And item 4 is just kind of housekeeping things in regards to our Unified Development Code, which will require these kind of improvements be made prior to him occupying the property. So that was our staff recommendation, is for approval with those conditions.
Was this seen by the Planning and Zoning Board?
Yes, it was. My apologies. Yes, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved it unanimously on their regular meeting Tuesday, January 30th, 2018.
Did they approve it with conditions?
They approved it as per staff
As presented?
recommendation.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Let me say that I watched this meeting, and it seemed to me there was considerable hesitation on the part of the applicant about some of these conditions. I would say, in whatever motion gets made, we mean for these conditions to be followed, unless the motion becomes something different, which I don't see how it would be.
You are required to have a public hearing on this.
Any questions of staff? Okay. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this, please come forward and do so now. Please state your name and address for the record, and limit your remarks to 3 minutes.
My name is Dave Freund. I have a home at 204 Brookside Way, Villa Rica. But I'm really here as a business owner. I own Sabre Diamond Tools at 101 Sabre Parkway. Sabre owns the 6 acres roughly that are adjacent to this property. And let me first say, I have no objection to encouraging business into Villa Rica. I think it's great. We were welcomed warmly 28 years ago when we moved our southern division into Villa Rica, and it's been a happy marriage since. So my opposition to this is the traffic. They're in that area, and we're talking about Route 101, where this traffic from this zoning change is going to be forced to go. That half-mile stretch from the railroad tracks in the south to the stop sign, the three-way stop sign in the north, is congested all the time. And it has the traffic coming in from the industrial park, which is semi-trucks from both sides near the railroad track. It has, excuse me, Flowers Bakery, trucks in their work traffic. It has Gold Dust Park. It has another entrance to the industrial park. That's all on the west side. On the east side, you have businesses, and also you have an auction house, which happens to be, today there are 100 cars and trailers and trucks going in and out of that auction house for the auction. Further south, you have another business. Then you have Sabre Parkway, which has, right now there's a church, and there's a rental company that hauls forklifts and rental trucks in and out. You have Sabre Diamond Tools with 30 employees trying to get out on 101. And if you've ever been there on 101 at rush hour, Villarica rush hour, 4:30, that traffic backs up from the stop sign all the way past Sabre. I've seen it to the railroad track. If you happen to catch a train crossing, it backs up the other direction all the way up past Sabre to the stop sign. I've seen it. My employees getting out of Sabre Parkway have to cross northbound and southbound plus a turning lane. There's 3 lanes of traffic, active traffic, you have to cross to get out on 101. My contention is this is not something that really lends itself to good planning. And Mr. Barber very effectively talked about isolated decisions. I don't know that in this whole packet I've seen anything addressing when the traffic is forced down Sabre Parkway, what's going to happen when it hits 101. The other thing about this proposed, the very back page, it looks to me like this 10 acres is going to be divided up into 5 plots. So I don't know if it means there's 5 businesses going to go back there. In the way this is written, it does not allow any traffic to go through Fullerville, which I can understand. It forces all the traffic down Sabre Parkway onto 101. And I think without some thought of what's going to happen when that situation occurs, this has not been thought all the way through. And I don't know if storage means trucks are going to go in and out every day, or they're going to be there for a month. I don't know what kind of traffic this involves. So my objection is really, I don't think there's enough information here to really make a decision. As a business person, I know it's better to get information and anticipate problems than trying to solve problems after they occur. So my recommendation is to either get more information or hold off on this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Anybody from the Planning and Zoning Board?
Mr. Mayor, we ought to probably ask if the applicant is present.
Is the applicant present? Please state your name and address for the record, sir.
I'm David Wiley. My address is 7633 Buchanan Highway, Dallas, Georgia. I'd like to address the council and say thank y'all for the time and opportunity. Mr. Mayor, if traffic is an issue, I own property on 3 West. I own the entire cul-de-sac, all that property down there on the cul-de-sac. And if we could shut a business down because of driving, we need to shut Martin's down because the traffic is very heavy there too. So in consideration, thank y'all for the opportunity. Thank you for your concerns. If y'all have any questions, feel free to ask.
Any questions of the applicant?
I was just going to ask in regards to the storage, how that works. Is that something where they
okay.
just bring it out and leave it?
Okay.
Because I haven't checked with that department.
Let me clarify something, because I think there was a little misunderstanding last time, in the last meeting we had with some people that were here. When I said storage, I was presented from the city to give a drawing and a plat of what I plan to do. I originally gave a drawing, and I was told that my drawing showed one driveway coming around that property and storing my equipment in the back and not having to do anything. There was a number of things. There's a home on that property. Considered turning it into my office, and also considered taking it and turning it into a rehab center. My son runs a rehab center in Waco, Georgia, for men, and we have been considering on the board of looking into women's rehab because there's no rehab here. And I just told him, carried him out and showed him, I said, if I can leave this piece of property here, I said this would be a good place to start, because it's kind of isolated to some degree, the house is. And that was just my proposal, and there's been many proposals since then, because every time I talk with the city, I've got more to do, and now I'm presented by the city that I have all this work to be accomplished before I can move one piece of equipment. I'm a small business. I work anywhere from 8 to 10 people. I don't have the funds to spend $500,000 on grading and storm drain. My original plan was to start off with, get my equipment there, and start preparing this property as I move along. As far as you're concerned about the storage and you're concerned, this storage building, it's not like it's a public storage. It's a company owner that has told my real estate agent that they were looking for a 20,000 square foot building, that they wanted it for themselves, maybe split half of it up and rent it to somebody else until they grew into the entire building. Now, how much traffic they have, I don't know. But if traffic is an issue, let's go to 3 West first, if y'all don't mind, because I'm already there, and on the weekends, we really need help, on Saturdays, if that's an issue.
Sir, I've been over there plenty of times. I have no, my issue wouldn't really come down to traffic. I'm not going to hold anybody up about traffic, but what I was just told this property was going to be used for versus what you just described and what I see here, it doesn't all come together. It looks like you've divided this property into 5 different parcels, and you have some intention with those. I was just told this was going to be some storage. So tell me what your intention was with these 5 parcels.
Well, my intention with the 5 lots was, I went to Georgia West and I asked them to lay me out a plat. I told them what I wanted, and when they gave me the plat, it was different from what I asked for. So I called my real estate agent and asked him, I said, Mike, what do you think about this? He said, well, David, you're just trying to get it zoned right now. He said it can change, the lot sizes can change. I think we're trying to get the property zone, because there's a lot of property in the city that's zoned commercial and light industrial that don't have anything on it. And I'm not proposing to you that I'm gonna put 10 businesses in there, but I'm not gonna propose to you that I'm gonna be the only one there either. I'm telling you, my proposal to you is, I wanna get the property zoned. The only reason he did this was in 5 lots. He took this on himself to do that. I didn't ask him to do 5 lots. I didn't ask him to do 3 lots or 2 lots. I just told him I need something to take to the council more so than what I drew up. And I think you got a copy of the drawing that shows where I hand drew a driveway, and that was all I was asking for. I had enough land there. I could go ahead and put my equipment on and start from there, because with all the grading and all the work that's got to be done, that's more than what my company can sustain at one time. We actually even was looking before this to move our business to 3 West. So.
So what I'm hearing is that it is zoned, or you want it to be zoned light industrial.
Yes, sir.
So really it doesn't matter how many sections it is. And bottom line is, you can't put anything on this piece of land unless it's listed under light industrial.
Exactly. That's my understanding.
Okay.
And that was the bottom line of what I asked for from the beginning.
But to Councilman McDougal's point, the background information tells us clearly that the proposed use is for equipment storage. Is that your intended use?
That's my intended use. That was it from day one.
Also, to his point, in watching the planning and zoning meeting, you are aware of the stipulations that are on this rezoning if it's approved by council?
Well, I'm aware of that, but I'm also aware that before I do anything, I've got to present to the council, the city council, exactly what we're going to do. This is a proposal. This is not a finished layout plan. And this is my first time ever doing this, so maybe I'm unaware of how I need to approach it, and if that's the case, I apologize. I ask y'all to take into consideration that I've never done this before. But you know what? I never walked until I got big enough to walk. So
Sure, we respect that. And to the larger point, though, you understand that the conditions that they're recommending here are the conditions that you have to follow regardless of what you're going to do with this.
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, I'd like to table this till next month.
You'd like to what?
I would like to just table this till next month. Because I'm not aware, I'm not quite ready for some of the questions that's being thrown at me, and I don't know how to answer them in a proper way that would be satisfactory to y'all. And I'm not here to deceive the city, I'm not here to deceive the church or the owners of the property. I'm just here to bring in more business. My full intention was to bring my business, and then with all this other stuff that goes along with it, I have to bring in more business, or I don't get to do this at all, because this is just far beyond my reach. And at this point, I'd just rather take a month and sit down and get some more clear information with the city.
You're certainly within your right to withdraw your,
Sir?
you're certainly within your right to withdraw your request.
I'm not taking it that he's asking to withdraw his zoning request. I think that he's asking that it be tabled for a month in order for him to spend some time talking to the zoning staff as to what the effect of these conditions will be upon him, which would be probably a wise step if he doesn't fully understand
I agree.
what those
I agree
conditions,
with that.
how that will impact him.
And I don't mind tabling it, but I did want to, after he has presented, maybe ask staff a couple of questions before we table it.
Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you, sir.
Why are we going to even take it up now?
Well, I think you have some staff questions.
Yeah, you know what, I'm willing to just go ahead and table it.
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we table it to the March meeting.
Okay, we have a motion to table this item till the March meeting. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay. Item number 4 is stormwater alignment to repair damage.
Gosh, I was hoping I was done by now. Mr. Mayor, we've got a drainage issue located at 211 South Carroll Road, where we've discovered that we've got public stormwater that's being piped across a private citizen's yard. It's caused there's been a collapse, and it's caused a problem. After looking at it, I contacted one of our local engineering firms that has done a lot of work here in Villa Rica in the interest of saving time, so we could do a quick turnaround. And I contacted Georgia and West and one John Bass to come look at the issue and give us a price quote on a design to remedy this issue. What you have in your packet or on the agenda is a price from Georgia and West for $3,950 to do this design. This will be funded out of the Carroll County SPLOST stormwater item in our budget, so we have funds available. It would be my recommendation that that Mayor and Council approve this so we can get started on this remedy as quickly as possible.
I listened to this streaming as well. Looks like this has been going on for a long time and should have been taken care of a long time ago. I don't know if anybody has any questions, but I'd be prepared to make a motion.
I don't see any problem with it at all. I mean, $3,000.
So I'll make the motion to approve the proposal from Georgia Engineering for $3,950 to design a solution for the drainage issue at 211 South Carroll Road.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Not all in favor?
You got like 3
Unanimous.
seconds there.
Not sure what I did.
Good.
Thank y'all.
Tab E, Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Services. Ms. Coleman.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This first item that is before you is concerning the roof replacement at Gold Dust. If you will recall, this has been a project, a series of steps, if you will. This item will complete the roof work that was done last year. We undertook the roof replacement for the portion that's that was over the gym. This will handle the administrative portion of the building. So we put this out to bid. We received 3 bids back. You have the prices listed. This particular proposal, this is a budgeted item in SPLOST. As I did mention, this is budgeted for, originally budgeted in SPLOST for $175,000. The bid responses that came back did come in significantly higher than what we currently have budgeted in SPLOST. But I will, just to cover a couple things, this is a 30-year watertight warranty, as well as it includes all the annual inspections on the roof. And this should essentially remedy the issues of the leaking that's going on in the building and have been going on for some time. Staff is recommending approval of the Garland Group with the selection of Ben Hill Roofing in the amount of $225,780.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Garland Group and Ben Hill Roofing for the purpose of replacing the administration roof section at Gold Dust Park at a price of $225,780.
Second.
Motion and second. I just want to make a comment here. There's a disclaimer in the bids that say that, things can happen during the construction phase that may result in change orders. Let me go on record as saying this mayor does not like change orders, so anything that happens, we need to know about it pretty quickly and make sure that we have determined that that's a need.
Absolutely. As with some of the other roofs, if they go in and they realize that there's more damage under the roof, then we'll certainly bring that back to you if the cost has to go up from there.
How much did you say was in SPLOST for this?
It was originally budgeted for $175,000, and they've come in $50,000 over. So what it essentially will require is us to do an adjustment on our project list. I don't know if Sarah wants to briefly add anything else to that.
Second, I think that's second. Got a second.
Okay, you got a second? Any further discussion? Yeah, there did. That's why I made the comment after that. All in favor?
Yep.
Unanimous. Coming in the door. How did you time that? That was
Money
pretty
while you
good.
were gone, Councilman.
Item number 2.
They voted twice.
This second item, this is the item for the athletic uniform bids. This is included in our 2000 operating supplies budget. We put out an invitation to bid for the athletic uniforms. We received 2 bid responses back. You have the unit pricing for both Gable Sporting Goods and Cedar Stream. Staff recommendation is approval of Gable Sporting Goods with regard to the purchase of the athletic uniforms.
And we discussed this in work session, and these are the same bids that we got last year, so that was a good thing. So I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of athletic uniforms from Gable Sporting Goods.
In the amount?
In the amount of, well, I'll have to read them.
It's based on the unit pricing.
Based on the listed amounts here for Gable Sporting Goods.
Okay. Do I have a second? Have a second? All in favor? Unanimous. Item number 3.
This second item is the soccer uniform bid. We put this out on the street as well. This is budgeted in our operating supplies budget. We received 1 response back. That response was for Crown USA Inc., and it includes both the numbers for spring and fall unit pricing. Staff recommendation, is approval of Crown USA Inc.
Are these the same prices we had last year?
This is just a little bit lower than what we had last year.
Actually got a reduction, okay.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve Crown USA Inc. as a soccer uniform vendor for a price of $22.50 spring and fall.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion. I had asked in the work session for some numbers from the fall season soccer and spring season. Do you have those?
I do. Spring soccer, the total participation was 444. Does not include the tot shot, just so that everyone is aware. But spring soccer was 444, and for the fall, that number was 431.
What age groups was that
The age group,
in the fall?
I don't have the breakdown of the age groups and the participation by age groups.
Okay. Further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Item number 4.
This final item, what we're doing is proposing to you this is concerning the master trail plan. What we have a proposal is to work with the PATH Foundation and moving forward and developing a master trail plan for the city. As many of you are aware, we have been working over the last year to implement conceptually what would be a citywide master trail plan. Part of what has been implemented thus far is the Fullerville Trailhead. The construction began last January, and it was completed in June, July, if you will. We've also had an agreement to move forward with portions of a pedestrian underpass for, again, what will be this master trail plan. Staff is recommending working with the PATH Foundation to not only develop this master trail plan, but to work with us with developing marketing concepts to promote this plan, as well as developing an implementation schedule. As part of what we've talked about in the past, we thought that this would be the best step with moving this forward. There was a presentation by the PATH Foundation during the work session meeting, and we thought this would offer the best strategy to not only get to have a plan developed, but truly one that gets implemented within a reasonable time frame based upon other measures that you may decide to later put in place. Just to give you an example, some of the things that we've talked about would be, say, maybe developing the more philanthropic portion to raise funds to implement, maybe seeking out transportation funds through the RTP. We implemented part of this with funds, and the other thing would be developing a plan that could be adopted into your development code that could be implemented as part of any developer or builder coming in, and this being a required improvement. So we really want you to have the best strategy to be able to get a project like this implemented, and we thought this would be the best recommendation. So staff is recommending approval. The amount is $53,450, and the agreement has been reviewed by the city attorney, and it's included for your review as well.
We talked about this at length in the work session, and the gentleman was here from the PATH Foundation, and his credentials are impeccable. He was heavily involved in the Carrollton Greenbelt project, was involved in the Atlanta Greenbelt project. He has a proven track record in this country of building trail systems. And one thing that impressed me with him was our city manager told us that he wasn't in the business to come in and build plans that just sat up on a shelf for 50 years. If the city wasn't committed to making this trail happen, that he really didn't want to get involved in it. And that says a lot about the man. I mean, he has a proven track record, so he don't want to attach his name to a project that's just going to sit on a shelf. And I certainly hope, and I have the support of this council, I know, in moving this trail forward. And the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one foot forward. We built our trailhead. Now it's time to take the next logical step, which is to get someone to start putting the pieces of the puzzle together so we can make this thing happen.
Is the 53,450, is that a budgeted item?
Yes, it is. It is a budgeted item. And it's under budget, I will add.
I might point out on your motions, you need to include the amount in the motion.
Okay.
I guess my issue is whether or not you put it on the shelf. I think to get the design of this is very, very important. Pretty much like we talked about a while ago about digging up roads after we put brand new systems in. This is important, and I think this is the right guy to do it. My only concern is that we're fixing to bite up an elephant, and it's going to be one bite at a time, and we've already got a concern of a 159-acre passive park. We got water, sewer, infrastructure problems. We got road problems. All of these problems are adding up, and if what I heard was true, that the place south of us had 18 miles at $1 million a mile. Well, that's not even biting an elephant. That's maybe looking at his toes. I don't have a problem with the 53,000. I just think that he needs to understand before we do that, it's not going to happen next year.
No, I think we've got to be patient. The only reason Carrollton, I think you already said that in the meeting that I watched, got done as quick as they did, and most of it was private funds, but we know from the Richards came a lot of private funds. But if you don't put it in place so that you know where you've got to have right of way, and where somebody comes in and they want to build a new development, you say, well, you can build that new development, but you need to build this section of the path beside your development. If we don't have that in place, we'll never do it, and I think it's a priority to do it. But to your point, it's going to cost, and that's where that board is so important. We've got to get influential people that are go-getters, that will meet with the Carrollton group and others to get input on what went wrong, what worked for you, what was helpful, and learn from them, and not recreate the wheel. We can do this, and the asset it would be, well, I don't even know how to put into words the asset. Ask the people in Carrollton.
I think I've listened to this for a while too, and I agree that those are admirable qualities for the guy to say, I don't want to design a plan and work on it and put it up on the shelf, but I also don't want to spend this $53,000 and put it up on the shelf. I want us to be committed to it. I want us to buy into it, and I want us to do it. I very much support this, but I also want us to be committed to it. And you know, it is but we have a lot of big projects. It's how this meeting started tonight, talking about a lot of big projects. But would you say 1,000 miles begins with one step? Let us begin.
Yeah, I'm afraid we're sitting down at dinner and we're not eating an elephant. I think we're taking on a herd of elephants.
Thank you.
Would you like to make that in the form of a motion?
I just want you to have more work to do. Just stay on top of it.
Would you like to make that in the form of a motion?
Yes, sir, I would. Do I have the motion language here?
Just right here.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the proposal to use the Path Foundation to assist the city with developing a master trail plan in the amount of $53,450.
I second.
Have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Not? All in favor? Was that a unanimous vote? Councilmember Marchman, was that an affirmative?
Yes, we were all.
Unanimous. Thank you, Vicki. Tab F, Economic Development, Mr. Pike.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Two short agenda items for you this evening. We are rounding out our 2018 concert lineup. We have before you two options for the Gold Nugget Drop, which will be December 31st, 2018. We provided information and background on each one of the bands for your consideration and research, and this is at the point where you all get to decide which band you prefer for the Gold Nugget Drop.
You know, I hate it being put in, I don't want us to pick the bands. I think probably a lot of us are agreed on that. My main concern is how much things cost, how much money will be raised to cover it, and you assured us and have a background of doing very well at the fundraising for these bands and the sponsorship, so that's really good. My big concern is really just community appropriateness. You know, I have a real problem with one of the bands. I looked at the other band. I mean, they're edgy. It's edgy. I think we can do better, and I'll leave it at there. I'm sorry, one other thing. In their rider, they have, different things they require, hotel rooms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The food coloring, the red food coloring with the other, I'm hoping that if the KISS tribute band show, that's not related to them spitting what's to be artificial blood on the stage, which is the band they're imitating. That was all part of their. Do you know if that's part of what that is when they have that in that rider? Because that's kind of unique to have red food coloring as something we're going to provide for them along with.
No, I don't know. We can definitely find out and make for sure. I will say, there are bands that this community enjoys and has been approved by this council numerous times that has a very different show than the show that they perform here in Villa Rica. So it doesn't mean just because you've seen something somewhere else that we can't tell them to scale that back. So I
correct, but it's in the rider that they gave us. That was my only question. I realize that they'll probably do a clean version for us. I just would hate to see that happen. But whatever the council decides.
So Chris, are you asking the council to decide between two bands?
Yes, sir. You have two options. You have option 1, which is Strutter, and option 2, which is Thunderstruck.
No, we got 3 options.
Or you could not pick anything at all.
No, we got 3 options. I can make a motion to be real simple. Chris, you make a decision. Let's go on.
Well, but with all due respect to Chris, I mean, Chris is asking for budget approval on this, so, we need to know who the band is or how much they're going to charge anyway.
Same amount.
Well, but still, that's why he's here, just like Vicky was here before him asking for soccer uniforms and to be approved. So we still need an approval, is what I'm saying.
Staff is trying to be sensitive to what you guys want, and this is my first time through all this, so I'm listening to the conversation, trying to learn where your collective head is, and so is Chris and Janet. Janet's, just in her first year as Main Street manager, so we're looking for direction, y'all. Not just a decision, but a thinking process. What are you thinking? What is it you want on New Year's Eve?
What did we ask you to do, Chris? We asked you to bring a band that would bring crowds, or at least that would appeal to a larger part of the community. Do you have an opinion about which of these 2 bands will do that?
We need some staff input.
I will say this.
Because I'm going to tell you, I could flip a coin.
I could too. I don't know either one of them.
If you watch the videos, you might be more comfortable with the AC/DC tribute band, if you watch the videos. But
So, Chris, can you answer that question?
I will only just refer back to the first rounds of recommendations that we provided when we initially gave you the 2018, which our first pick was the KISS tribute band. So
You felt like those would be the ones that would bring out, that have the most appeal, have the largest crowds, and be what the community was looking for and here.
Well, let me say it in this respect. I think when we looked at 2018 and when we looked at what was the marching orders, what I recognize is when we do a concert, everybody's not going to like every concert. So we tried to do something that had broad appeal for everyone in the community. So everyone in the community has at least 1 or 2 concerts that they can enjoy, which I think has been an issue in the past. And so does this concert lineup appeal to everyone every single time? No, it doesn't. But I think but we've done a good job diversifying that everybody who pays taxes in this money in the city has something that they can go enjoy at least once or twice in 2018.
Right, and I think that's the goal here. I mean, we never thought you were going to bring only bands that appeal to every person here. I mean, I'm probably only going to bring my kid to see Elmo. You haven't brought him. But until then, I mean, I'll see the ones that I want to see and the ones I don't want to see. You won't see me there.
Here's my issue, Chris, and will be my issue whether it's you or Vicky or anybody that brings crowds or has the ability to bring crowds in. You bring us a list of bands, and one of them doesn't produce as much as many people as the rest of them do. The next year, you bring that band back. Now, that's a little bit different issue. If you bounce it around and bring somebody else in to bring that same amount, I could care less about these guys here. I'm not going to come see them anyway. Probably be fishing the next day, so it don't matter. The issue to me, though, is when you have 100 people come to watch a concert, and then the next time, concert, there's 500 or 750. Those are the kind of things I think we're all looking for. Not necessarily these are wrong. By no means I'm saying they're wrong. I'm saying that if you choose to bring one in and it's 100 people this year and you bring them back next year, yeah, that's wrong as far as I'm concerned. So
we're always constantly evaluating the events, and as a
all
matter
I
of
ask.
fact, there are several events this year that we're not doing because it didn't produce the results and the desires that we wanted. So if we spend money on somebody and they bring 100 people, chances are we're not going to invite them back in.
Unless weather's an issue, which is what the case was at the Nugget Drop.
Correct. Well, that
I think it was
was a weather
7
related.
degrees out there, something like that.
It rained last year.
Right, that was miserable.
Uh,
But
Chris-
those guys did a great job.
Chris, did you have any way of actually going back and looking where these bands have performed lately, how the crowds are?
Yeah, well, we provided links to their websites with background information about
That's
them.
their
So
website, but-
yeah, we researched to see what kind of draw they had.
So both of these draw about the same, is that what you're saying?
Both of these bands, as far as appeal, are pretty much even. They're
And I
both
think-
the number one in their tribute band genre, if you will. So
And I would submit that their shock factor is about on par with each other as well. So
yeah,
it's
I think
hard
one's
for me.
visual and the other's vocal.
That's right.
Shock
And that-
I think
that was true with the original
Let
ones.
shock factor sink in when it's gonna wear the name of Villa Rica with it. It's going to wear the city's name. It's not a private concert that people are going to buy tickets to go to.
So my question to you is, do you feel like that you have an advantage or disadvantage with either one of these guys in communicating to them Councilmember McPherson's concern and their compliance?
No, I mean, we're dealing with management and we can give them what our expectations are, which we do with all the bands.
I know, but you don't have any experience with either one of these guys, right? So you don't really
No,
have a
no.
relationship or a track record with either one of them. So you're sort of flipping a coin too, as far as you communicate to them what kind of show in their spectrum of edgy to more family oriented, whether they're going to comply or not. You don't really know.
Well,
One over the comparing the two.
No.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know either one of them, but I know we have a stringent objection on the council, so I'll make a motion to authorize city manager to approve contracts and agreements necessary to engage option 2 for the 2018 Gold Nugget Drop.
You threw me a curve. Option 2.
That's Thunderstruck.
ACDC.
Thunderstruck.
AC/DC.
Okay. Have a motion to approve Thunderstruck as our entertainment for the 2018 Gold Nugget Drop. Do I hear a second? Seeing no second,
Okay,
I would entertain another motion.
all right. Since nobody wants to see either one of them, we better look for a third band.
Anybody?
Well, I don't go to the nugget drop, so I feel like I won't be there. I'll be at church. So I feel like whatever the majority wants, I'm okay with.
Right, but we don't seem to have them.
I probably will go. I have gone. Either of these bands particularly, they don't strike me either way. I could go with either one, but I would like you to communicate that we want the lesser shock value, but I'll make a motion that we approve Strutter. I don't see the language on here.
Recommended motion is the second.
I see it. I move that we authorize the city manager to approve all contracts and agreements necessary to engage option 1 for the 2018 Gold Nugget drop.
Do I have a second?
I'm going to second that because we need a band.
Have a motion and a second.
We don't need further this much time.
I think we
for the
probably
band.
discussed it to death, but all in favor? All opposed?
I told you, I just abstain.
Okay.
We don't have a tie?
It was 2-1.
We didn't, it was a 2-1 vote, but David, correct me if I'm wrong, but a no vote.
I'll go with that to make it pass. I don't, cause like I said, I'm not gonna be here. So if you got 2 for option 1, I'll vote for that. And
Okay.
so we can move
That's
on.
a 3-1 now.
Okay, but I do want to get a point of clarification from our city attorney, because I learned this in school, I believe. A no vote by state statute means that the person that's not voting votes with the majority, unless
I mean, an
otherwise stated.
And
Need an
abstention.
abstention.
Yeah.
I think that is, I disagree with that, so.
I thought it was the
I'll look into
opposite.
it. They may have taught you that, but
Get your money back
David,
on
isn't
that
it the
class.
opposite?
You can't count it either way,
That an
can you?
abstention is a no?
I didn't think it was either way.
Either way.
We absolutely did, and maybe you'll go back and clarify that.
I'll
but-
go back and look at it.
I can,
Well,
yeah.
I gave you a vote, so that's 3.
You did, but I would like you to look at that, David, if you would, because we were told that in school.
So we have a 3-1, is that correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
So the vote was 3-1 with option
Councilman
1.
Best.
That
One,
clearly
no
would be true if you have a requirement that you have a certain number of votes. Some city charters say that no action passes unless you have 4 votes in favor of some action or 3 votes in favor of some action. So if somebody abstains, then that is the equivalent of a no vote.
Well, I don't want to belabor this, but the question is that an abstention means that you concur with whatever the majority vote was. That's what
What if
we
you had a
were
conflict of
told in
interest?
class.
You may abstain because you have a conflict.
Then it
You
was a
own a
4-1
business
vote.
that's affected by the ordinance or something.
You'll just check on that.
You got
for
your
us.
3.
Yeah,
Let's
I'll
go.
look at that.
Item number 2.
Thank you.
All right.
Top hat.
Arts Fest.
Oh, we killed that one, didn't we?
I vote that we approve.
Yeah. Arts Fest with no kiss. All right. The next item on the agenda is a request by the Villarica Arts Coalition from the Community Development Grant Fund for $3,055 for the production of the 2018 Arts Fest, Villarica Arts Fest. The Arts Fest is in its 10th year and has been a great contributor to downtown and the cultural diversity of the community, and staff's recommendation is to support this. There's $15,000 this year in the budget for the community development grants. If awarded this grant, that would leave $11,945 remaining for grants for 2018.
Okay, and just to give you a little bit of a background, for those of you that may not know what this community grant is, this is a way that the city, if the city's going to be involved with events such as the one that I'm most familiar with is Taste of Villarica in the fall, but any event that group that comes to the city and wants to do something on behalf of the city, this community grant is approved in the budget process, and then that application process comes from that group to the city and is approved. So, okay.
Okay, I would move that we approve $3,055 from the Community Development Grant Program Fund to support the 2018 Villa Rica Arts Fest.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you,
very
sir.
much.
Tab G, Public Works, Pete.
Finally into something easy.
They're clearly here for an issue.
Everybody was here to see Chris Pike, it looks like, except you stayed.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Good evening. This evening I have a request to purchase of 2 tractors and 2 bush hogs. These are budgeted equipments for 2018. They are on state contract, and they will replace 2 of our 16-year-old tractors we have now that are pretty much staying in the shop more than they're staying on the road. The total amount of this project is $114,333.50. Both of these are John Deere. One is a 100 horsepower tractor that will pull a new 15-foot batwing mower to maintain our Highway 61 and our exit 24 and 26 ramps, and to help out with the fireworks when we cut the fields down there. The other one will be a 75 horsepower tractor that will pull a 6-foot bush hog like what we have. These tractors will come with 5-year powertrains, which will save us a lot of money over the next few years of what we spend in maintenance cost, and will keep us from having so much downtime. Last year, one of our tractors stayed in the shop for nearly 2 months. It really hurt us cutting last year. We've chosen these models of tractors because they're proven reliable in our applications, along with we have a very good local dealer and parts availability and service. And the state contract price was, I called a couple of dealers, and it was over $10,000 difference on the best price that I could get on.
Is this a budgeted item?
It's budgeted item, all of this, yes, sir.
All right. I'll make a motion we authorize purchase 2 tractors and 2 bush hogs from Sun South LLC for an amount not to exceed $114,330.50.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Mr. Barber?
2 bush hogs? Bush hog and a batwing?
1 bush hog and 1 batwing mower.
Can we modify that?
Yeah, we better, it says 2 tractors and 2 bush hogs down here in the motion. Who wrote that up?
The batwing is a bush.
No.
Okay.
I'm asking you to change that.
Yeah, but it's not the same width.
I understand, but
Who made the motion?
I did.
Can you modify it to 1 bush hog, 1 batwing?
Yeah, I'll modify the motion to be 1 bush hog, 1 batwing.
And I'll second the modified motion.
Have a modified motion second.
The amount didn't change. The
Any
price
discussion?
amount.
If not, all in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
tomatoes.
All right, back in the fall, we started having conversations about how we were doing irrigation in the parks. There was interest in possibly expanding that to some additional parks, plus Connors Road Park is now percolating along as a concept and will need irrigation potentially. I reached out to one of the guys that we're using as an engineer. He recommended that we talk to Dr. Randy Cath, who's a geology professor at West Georgia, as well as co-owner or something of a company that helps folks like us site wells. We received a proposal for him, and if you remember, I brought that maybe in January or something. And Councilmember Bass wanted us to get a proposal from another West Georgia professor named Tom Crawford. So I reached out to Professor Crawford, and to my surprise discovered that he and Dr. Cath are in cahoots, that they had already talked about this project and were planning on working together if we voted to approve it. And in addition, he preferred to work for us through Dr. Cath's company because that's sort of, I think, their structure. They're co-authors of a number of reports on areas where they've done a lot of work. So evidently, these guys, you know, they're partners effectively. And so the proposal for you is merely phase one of what could be a multi-phase effort. But this is just for them to go take a look at things again and recommend to us where we should drill. And then we'll come back with those results. You'll remember that when he met with me, he told me that there is a big chunk of Villa Rica that is not likely to be a high output source, that we sit on what's called the Villa Rica Gneiss, I think is the name of it. It's a rock formation. So we're on a crown, right? We're on a ridge line. 20 and 78 and the railroad are all sort of oriented toward the ridge line that we sit on. So we're not going to get 750 gallons a minute or something, most likely, you know, in that area. But off of that, which would be Liberty Pool Road, the V-Plex, and maybe up above where Pete works. So up above the water plant and the west plant, maybe up in that. So there's a couple of corners that we may could play with, but you know, we need something in those parks. So we're going to do that research, and then once it's done, we'll bring it back and y'all can decide if you want to pursue it or not.
And where do you get to 9,700?
I don't remember if I put it in there. Did I indicate
You said
what
not
the
to
source
exceed-
of it was? Because I don't think it specifically. It's too small to be in the SPOS line item. But it depends on where we actually wind up going. So part of it could be a Parks and Rec function. Part of it could be water and sewer if we're using it to help us with Liberty Pool. So we may wind up splitting it up depending on what kind of results we get.
Well, are you still asking to engage with PetroLogic?
Yeah.
Correct.
Phase
Okay,
one.
then you do have an amount in here. Not
Well,
to exceed
You don't have a-
$9,700.
Source.
Talking about a source, about where,
Where it would,
you know, it's partly general fund, it's partly water and sewer. It's going to depend on what kind of results we get. I'm hoping we get a Connors Road Park site out of this, for instance, so that part would be rec. But if I get a Liberty Pool site, which I'm hoping also, then that would be a water sewer charge, so we'd split it up, you know, once we get there.
so you'll come back to us and tell
With
us
that,
how
right.
that happened
Right.
after we approve
And
this.
then what the results are, and then what, y'all are going to decide if we're going to do phase two or not.
Okay. I move that the city council authorize the city manager to engage PetroLogic Solutions to perform phase one of the attached proposal dated January 3, 2018 for an amount not to exceed $9,700.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Not all in favor? Unanimous. Item number 3. Nick in a vest tonight.
You had to switch it up. Good evening. I'm here to request the purchase of 5 vehicles to add to our fleet. All 5 of these vehicles are budgeted and have been approved. All 5 of them are under budget. So I'll just start with the first one. The first one is to purchase an F-150 for the water treatment plant.
How many vehicles?
It will be 5, a total of 5.
About 6.
Looks like 6.
6.
I was thinking
Excuse me.
6.
I'm sorry.
You got 6 listed here, so we're gonna
Yeah.
throw one away.
No, let's do 6.
It's gonna be real funny if I approve 5 and you try to go buy 6.
I think I'd make some enemies out of the other departments.
Yeah, because they wouldn't have no money.
Right. All right, so it'll be, the first one will be for the water treatment plant. This F-150 will replace a Nissan truck with 155,000 miles on it. It's a 2000. Has multiple uses for this truck, or, you know, they drive the Nissan up to Atlanta to take lab samples. So they're on the interstate quite a bit. I'm hoping that we can get this F-150 approved and then move the Nissan to a different department, which will drive it less, and we will keep it in our fleet. The council has approved $22,000 for the purchase of this truck. Don Rich Ford has given us a quote for $21,399. Don Rich Ford was the best price out of the 3 bids that I've obtained.
All right, let's take them one by one. Let me make a motion to authorize the purchase of a 2018 Ford F-150 for the amount of $21,399 from Don Rich in Villarica.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion? Not? All in favor? Unanimous?
All no-brainers.
You guys can cut me off whenever. The next vehicle will be for the street department. It's also an F-150. It will be replacing a 1992 F-150 with 222,000 miles. The truck that it will be replacing will hopefully be sold at Gov Deals. I don't know how much it will bring, but probably not much. The council has approved $22,000, and Don Rich Ford has offered the truck for $21,399.
This is identical to the other one, so.
Yes, sir.
Let me just go ahead and make the motion to authorize the purchase of a 2018 Ford F-150 for the amount of $21,399 from Don Rich for the street department.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion? Not? All in favor? Unanimous?
This next one is also identical price truck.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen that fast. It takes him a little while to pull it up.
Okay.
Keep going.
Is this street department number 2?
This is also street department.
Okay.
Get cut off, aren't
But
you?
he'll get it.
Yeah, we did this Thursday while we going down item tonight.
He's got them listed separately by each one, so I'll make a motion to authorize the purchase of a 2018 Ford F-150 for the amount of $21,399 from Don Rich for street department number 2.
And I'll second that.
Discussion?
Just one thing, only basically for the sake of the citizens.
Yes, ma'am.
I read all these things, why we're getting them, everything else. We're buying a lot of new vehicles this year. When you say between
Yes,
the 2 years, we're hearing a lot about new vehicles. I just want to make sure people hear the justification. Most of these older ones are going to another department, so they're still going to get used. Just some sort of justification as to, gee, Villarica's buying a lot of new vehicles, why are they doing that?
Yes, ma'am.
We've
Well,
been
and I
putting it
think-
off, and they've been wearing out.
I asked this question on Thursday. I think the 18-year-old.
These
one of
two,
them's-
we'll attempt to sell them for something because they're not worth much right now, and they're kind of on their last leg.
Well, I mean-
We're spending more in repairs and maintenance to keep them on the road than the vehicle's worth.
Well, there you go.
The age of these vehicles is 15 years plus that we're replacing.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And all of that information is available in the work session as well.
Mhm.
This
It
would
is.
probably have been put on a consent agenda, which is the only reason we're sort of moving through it kind of quick. Just
Yeah.
for those who are curious. It's not that, we've been through it.
It's budgeted items, we have the money there, we just got to go through them.
Yes, sir.
Which one's next?
The next one will not be replacing a vehicle. It'll be in addition to our fleet. It is a Ford F-250. So it is different, and it's a little bit more expensive, but the council has approved $33,320 for the purchase of this truck. Don Rich Ford has offered it for $29,501. Sorry, I'm screaming at you guys. This will be a service vehicle that'll be on the road. We'll be able to pull heavy equipment with it and bring it back to the shop, but it'll also be able to make field repairs. It will be outfitted with tools and equipment that will be needed for field repairs.
Nick, for all practical purposes, this will be your office, is that correct?
That's correct.
All your tools will be on that. You'll be the only driver. You'll have the tools locked up.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Your truck goes to Connor.
It will go to Connor.
Okay, make a motion to authorize purchase for the 2018 Ford F-250 for the amount of $29,501 from Don Rich.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Unanimous?
The next vehicle is going to be for the distribution department. It is also a Ford F-250. This will be in addition to the fleet, but it is replacing the manager's truck. The manager's truck will be turned into a service truck. We will remove the bed that is currently on it, and then we'll put a service body on so they can put their water fittings and couplings and things that they need to do field work.
Is this identical to the last truck?
Yes, sir, it is.
I make a motion to the authorized purchase of a 2018 Ford F-250 for the amount of $29,501 from Don Rich Ford.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Unanimous.
All right, this will be the last one, I promise. This is a request to purchase a transport van for the police department. They had a transport van, but it was given to Carroll County work crew per our contract, our new contract with the crews. We were to provide them a van. The police department donated theirs. Their vision for this van is not just a transport. It's actually, they're wanting for the police officers to use it for training and for the explorers to go on trips, etc. It is also budgeted. The council has approved $31,000 for the purchase of this van, and Don Rich has offered it for $29,859.
All right, I'll make that motion to authorize purchase. It says a 2018 Ford 15, is that what they call it?
15 passenger.
Okay, 15 passenger transit van for the amount of $29,859 from Don Rich.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Nick. Item number 4.
That would have been consent agenda.
He forgot it and was supposed to first
This is a request to update the cost factor for our industrial BOD and TSS surcharge calculation. Just like I mentioned on Thursday, BOD is biochemical oxygen demand. This is the amount of oxygen it takes to break down the organic matter in our wastewater. And TSS is solid, organic, and inorganic solids that suspend below the water surface. So basically, it's both of them are the calculation of solids in our wastewater that have to be removed. So we have industrial customers that pay water, and then they pay sewer, and then because of the demand, the extra demand that they put on our plant, because of the solids we have to remove because of what they're putting in, we charge them a surcharge. I think in 2010, the council approved a 40-cent cost factor, so basically saying it costs us 40 cents per pound of these solids that we remove, but we've done some calculations in the past 2 weeks and have discovered that's kind of way under what it actually costs us to do that. So we're asking that the council would approve a cost factor of $1.09, $1.09 per pound.
I believe one of the councilmen had a question about how this was going to impact. Did you get that question answered?
She said she would do it after a period of time. That's the only way they could calculate it.
Okay.
Yeah, so moving from 40 cents to $1.09, you're more than doubling the cost factor portion. But we have to calculate, that's just a portion of the calculation, because each industrial customer will be treated differently. We're looking at the amount that they go over our authorized amount. They're allowed to have BOD and TSS of 250 milligrams per liter. So we have some customers that barely go over that, and one of our industrial customers goes over that significantly. So that plays into the calculation, as well as this cost factor. So while a jump from 40 cents to $1.09 is more than double, that is only part of the calculation.
And it's less than what we heard at the work session is $1.19, so we've come down.
Right.
So the thing that I think we said that I'm not sure we said is that this only impacts three
Right.
right? So 2 of them, it looks to me like are maybe hundreds of dollars per month impact, but one of them was going to get swallowed. And the reason isn't the rate increase. Each of these 3 companies are responsible for having pre-treatment operations in their plant, and one of them apparently, it's like the reason they get up every day is to do pre-treatment. They're maybe a little lax, and I think we're fixing to motivate them to fix that.
And that's what we will,
I'm
it's,
hoping that even the third one's impact will
Right.
be mitigated somewhat by them sort of getting their act together. Sean, is that a fair assessment?
Yes, we, in the industrial permits, we put in what's called local limits. And so for both BOD and TSS, that limit is 250 milligrams per liter for each one. The surcharge is applied to any discharger that goes over those amounts because industry standard at 250 for each one of those constituents is kind of equated to domestic waste water. So anything above that, the industry would get surcharged for that. The surcharge is really kind of a built-in incentive for the industry to make sure that they stay below those numbers and lessen the impact to our treatment. But if they go over that, then of course we have to assess a surcharge.
and I would, I would certainly hope that we have the same type of communication plan to get in touch with these three businesses and let them know, you know, why the increase is necessary and what they can do to lessen the impact of that.
Yes, and I mentioned that at the work session, that I look forward to working with them and taking a hard look at their operation. If we can share anything with them of how they can, you know, achieve compliance with us and stay within those numbers, we're certainly going to share that with them.
So does this kind of come into playing into the same thing of paying for the services you're getting, kind of like the water and sewer for people? They're demanding a lot more because of the treatment. It costs the city a lot more. We're asking them basically to pay a fee that takes care of what they're doing.
That's correct.
Okay.
Or fix it. I'm in the motion business. I'll make a motion to approve the cost factor of $1.09 per pound to be used in the BOD/TSS surcharge calculations, beginning with the March 2018 utility bills.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
I'd like
Unanimous?
to make a motion that we open the door. Am I the only one that's like, is it like 80 degrees in here? You don't think it's
It ain't hot. It ain't hot in here.
Tab H,
75?
we have Captain Shaddix here representing our police department tonight.
Well, we've already bought too many vehicles. You can go back.
I don't need that.
I'm here standing in for Chief Mansour. Recommendations, we purchased these new WatchGuard camera systems. This is for the 4 vehicles. That's actually, I think, item number 2. These WatchGuard systems is part of the system we're already using in the police cars. These also come with a body cam that links up with these camera systems that allows not only with officers out on traffic stops, but should he go inside a home or a business to deal with something, now we have that video footage from what's happening where he's at.
Well, I'm excited to hear that because I asked that question this past year. So we are looking at expanding to body cams on
This
as
will
we
help
upgrade.
this will help to expand it, like I said, with these systems. That's part of it. And that's my understanding.
Okay.
Guess we'll have to ask the chief a little bit more about that, because I knew with the body cams, he said the biggest holdup was the cost to store all the storage.
It does increase it, and it is, you know, that will have to be addressed at some point, the storage of all this. But these new, my understanding, these new camera systems come with the body cam as part of it.
And just so the council understands, if you approve item number 1 and not approve item number 2, then there's no use for item number 1. So just keep that in mind.
Are these separate motions?
They're
Okay, so
written
we're going
up.
to approve the video systems before we approve the cars. Okay, we'll do it. I move that we authorize the purchase of the 4 WatchGuard systems for an amount not to exceed $24,860.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
The second motion or second item you have on is the purchase of 4 new vehicles. These vehicles were, Don Ridge Ford bid was just under the state bid, so we did save a little bit of money off the state bid, and I think that's what they were probably budgeted for was the state bid price.
These are Ford Tauruses, I believe you said?
Yes, my understanding, yes, they're Ford Interceptor sedans, so it's basically the Taurus.
In order for me to make a motion, I'm going to need some help because there is no motion.
There's no motion on there.
Give me some guidance on what you want me
To
to.
approve 4 Ford Patrol Interceptor sedans.
The amount is 91.
The question while he's doing all that over there, are we now going to move to 4 cars each year rather than 3? Until we get enough cars to have everybody take home car?
I'm not sure what
There's the amount.
has been agreed upon with that, because I'm not deep in that process.
Sure.
I think it's a good idea until we get caught up and get the take-home car program totally in place and get things done, and then I think you can go back to the 3.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I hope.
I will make a motion to approve the purchase of 4 new Ford Police Interceptor sedans at a cost of $91,352 paid out of Douglas County SPLOST.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you, sir. Item I. Oh, Lord, let's go.
Let's not go back.
Mr. Jim?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. First item is to enter a contract with Software Enterprises to
You're going to have to move a little closer, I think.
Pick it up, do something with it.
to utilize the services of Charles Delling with Software Effect for 24/7 monitoring and assistance on high-level issues. With constant threats rising each day, it's imperative we have a proactive approach to monitoring our network for outside threats as well as inside threats. This service allows for monitoring, penetration testing, both internal and external, as well as problem resolution. Entering this agreement gives me a much-needed resource when troubleshooting issues and getting our IT infrastructure back to industry standards, also with 24/7 monitoring and implementing updated policies on a regular basis. We're taking a proactive approach in safeguarding our data and network resources. I recommend we enter in this agreement not only as monitoring service, but a proactive approach to securing our network. Also, this will be in addition to assisting me when I'm in needing another resource who is vested and familiar with our network.
Do you do those disclaimers at the end of the commercials? That was quick.
I mean,
Don't take all day.
I thought I was at an auction for a minute. And I followed along with you, too. It was interesting.
Man, that was good.
I make a motion to enter into an agreement with Charles Delling of Software Effect at a monthly cost of $750. This will include pen testing and a proactive approach of network monitoring and remediation. Also, this motion also gives me a much-needed resource in day-to-day troubleshooting.
Gives him.
This does not include fees for engaging in special projects. I would ask that you talk with the city manager about the next motion you bring.
I second it.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
You need it, get it.
Unanimous. Number two?
The second is for Sync Global Services for a co-location, to utilize Sync Global's established infrastructure to host our equipment. Sync Global has a data center with generator backup, adequate cooling, and power needs supplied at will. They have 24/7 monitoring for AC power as well as security. I recommend we move our servers, firewall, web filtering, VPN to Sync Global's data center and a half-rack cabinet for $450 a month.
In 2 sentences,
Got
can
it.
you tell us, give us in a nutshell.
I was reading
what you've
along, so
done for
I'm
us?
with you.
This gives
sentences.
us flexibility for disaster recovery in a nutshell. If something goes down. Back up.
It's just a backup system.
It's for us to house our servers, VPN, web filtering on an off-site location where our ISP currently resides. Sync Global is one that ties us all together with our point-to-points. So they're at the front end. We get to move all of our equipment on the front end for better connection.
Okay.
Sync Global gives us our fiber, and the fiber hooks us all together. And we're not gonna have our servers in our building. We're gonna put them in their building, which is a big room with a bunch of racks in it. We're gonna get half a rack.
And a very clean environment.
In that locked half cabinet, we're gonna put our servers and stuff.
See, I read it, so I got it, because I read all the background information. But if I were just sitting here listening or watching the streaming, I'd be, what? So,
is not like a normal phrase, I mean, if you're not in the business.
All right, this is a better motion. I'm gonna try it. I make the motion for us to enter into an agreement with Sync Global, provided the indemnification clause can be removed, to use their data centers to accommodate our servers as well as our firewall and web filter not to exceed $450 a month.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, any discussion? If not,
Yeah. We're gonna enter an agreement provided something else has to do before we get.
No, that makes sense, because there's a clause in there that we cannot agree to under law, and we've asked them to remove that, which they will.
That indemnification, every company that we ever do business with wants it in there, because it gives them something for free.
Okay.
And it's against state law, and David hates it, he takes all of them out, so.
We put a condition on our motion.
No, that's fine.
so what's your recommendation, David?
I would not vote for it for that reason. I mean, under your charter, I have to approve any contract anyway, and I've approved this one with the exception of that one clause.
And that's in the motion to take it out.
Right.
It's just that I would have felt better if that had been at the end, but I didn't rewrite this motion, so I think that's why it's a little confusing.
Okay.
Because it's just an exception.
I
Sorry.
second the motion.
We've got, any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Unanimous?
And next is to establish a Microsoft license account. To start a Microsoft license account to adequately inventory and track our Microsoft licensed product, as well as quicker purchasing options. Currently, we have to order a license key, and the process can take several days, where if we have a license agreement in place, we can purchase as we go, as well as monitor, track, and I can deactivate and reactivate the license at will. I recommend setting up this account so we can track our licenses, as well as order new licenses as needed with no delay. And the reason there's only 5 licenses in here right now, I've identified 5 machines that need to upgrade to Windows 10 from Windows 10 Home. You have to purchase 5 licenses to start your Microsoft license agreement account.
And you said this Thursday, but just for the public that may not have heard it, we do have some machines out there that still have home license on them.
Unfortunately, yes, sir.
He's got that in the motion. I make the motion to establish a Microsoft license account for inventory audit purchasing purposes. This purchase of $677.50 is for 5 copies of Windows 10 Professional to upgrade several various versions of Windows Home operating systems we currently have.
Second.
Any discussion?
He doesn't need.
All in favor? Did you vote, Councilman? I know you did. You made the motion, so I'm assuming you did.
I'm still paying attention to somebody in the audience laugh.
Thank you.
Tab J, Mr. Mecklin?
Yep. Before I go into that, let me report on your question from earlier on the vote and abstentions. Robert's Rules of Order provides that an abstention doesn't count at all. But you are correct in that our charter says that when a quorum is present, which it clearly is, the affirmative vote of a majority of those council members present shall be required for the adoption of any ordinance, resolution, or motion. So that it does, if there's 5 of you here, it requires 3 votes in order to approve something. And so if 2 people abstained, then it wouldn't pass. So whoever taught you the class was correct in that regard. Is if it's a majority of the people voting, then a 2 to vote, 1 vote would prevail. A majority of those present requires 3 out of 5.
But if 2 people abstain, you could still have 3 vote for it.
Yeah, you could still have 3 to 0 to 2, and that would still be a majority of those present. But if it was 2 to 2 to 1, then that would not pass. It would fail.
Thank you, David.
Okay, tab J on the proposed city charter. As you are aware, we have been working on this for approximately a year and a half now, stopping and starting. We have come up with a draft We solicited public opinion. I would say that the written comments were fairly sparse. We did have some dedicated citizens who did offer comments on it, and I'm happy to say that many of their comments were incorporated into the final draft. The one big comment that I received that is not incorporated in it is a proposal regarding term limits for members of the council. We've had several public hearings. The input has not been large, but has been quality. So you have before you a proposed draft to be sent to the state legislature for introduction. I can say honestly, on most items, I've seemed to sense a pretty good consensus about it, but not on every item. So I don't know. I think you're just to the point of voting, and however it comes out, that's how it comes out. And I think I have said before that if we don't send it in with a unanimous recommendation from the council, then it probably is not a good idea to send it on, because our local legislative delegation has indicated time and time again, not just this year, but every year, that they want to know that something is received broad support of the council before they introduce it.
I commend you on your work, David. You've done a good job on this charter revision. The only thing I can say is that should have been version 4 at the bottom, not version 3.
It should have been version 4, but there was only one small section that was changed, so I didn't have time.
But you've done a good job. I like it. I like what you've come up with.
The one that I mentioned, I'd like to have that put in there, where I said that I think that if we have 5-0 on the vote, that it should not be a veto.
So it would be that anything that passed with a 5-0 would not be something that could be vetoed.
That's my suggestion. I don't know how to vote, but that's what I would like put in there.
So and I wasn't at the work session because I was home with a fever, but I remember we talked about making sort of several pieces of this and then taking them one by one and voting on them. We were going to divide it into maybe 10 of them, and I don't think that ever happened. I think we sort of skimmed through the charter one day, and if anybody's got any objections, throw it out here, but we didn't take a vote on it. Similar to how we did when we went through the water and sewer rates. I think that what Ms. Marchman is saying, I'm sorry? I couldn't hear you.
Could we do that if we named off
I don't think he
what they
has
are?
it broken out like that for tonight.
Yeah, we did that at the work session. But yeah, I mean, we could do essentially the same thing. I have not gone through and made a list of 10 things, but I can go through it and I can point out. What we did was we went page by page, and most pages you can go pretty quickly, because there's really only about 5 issues that I sense.
Well, Councilman Carter just said y'all did five of them, and I guess I had stopped watching by that time. Ms. Marchman just made a point about the veto, and I know that was a good bit of discussion before last Thursday. So, Ms. Marchman, you're saying that if an item that was originally passed by 5 votes would be exempt from a veto. What about 4 votes? 4 or 5? I'm just asking if that would be the same thing.
I hadn't
just the
thought
5
that way. I just said 5.
Okay.
I personally don't see why it matters if the mayor knows it's a 5-0 vote and chooses to veto it. That is prerogative, but he knows what's coming after that.
No, you never know what's coming.
That's right. You got 5 votes. That means
Unless
if you say 5,
5-0,
we got a consensus of the whole council is saying this is what we want. So why would you veto it? That's my question.
Right.
That's the reason I was saying, if you got a 5-0, then that seems to be a consensus of the council.
That's not in there. It's not in this chart.
I know it's not in here. That's
So
when
what
I
if we
said
broke
could
it down
put
to
in.
the only things that just the things that we haven't got a complete consensus on? Can we name what those are, then vote on them, and then some of us just got to compromise somewhere on there and go, well, that's not exactly what I wanted, but there's 3 people with that, or 4 people with that, and I'm the one that's not, because it needs to go unanimous to the legislators. If we could break down, just go over those things and vote on them.
That's really the only one that I know of. I mean, there may be others that you have, but that's the one that I have consistently heard that there does not appear to be complete unanimity of agreement on it.
And the page I'm looking at here says ordinances or resolutions, but it has stricken or other council measures. Is this the most recent version?
Yes.
That's what was discussed last Thursday.
And I had proposed that ordinances could be vetoed, but not resolutions and other council measures. But I don't know how much support there is for that.
I believe that. So I think probably what we do need to do is vote on each of these pieces. That would be my guess.
Well, when you say these measures, are we just talking about this one provision, which is section 2.27?
If that's all you see as still not at 5-0,
Well, I mean, I haven't sensed complete consensus on whether or not you're going to allow the mayor or leave in the charter that the mayor is going to have the right to vote to veto both ordinances and resolutions. That has been an issue that is raised over and over again. And at the work session, I expressed my opinion why that was in there. If you just look at the agenda tonight, there were no ordinances adopted. You know, everything was in the form of some other type of action, so that, you know, if you're just looking at tonight's meeting, there's nothing that could be vetoed if you remove the resolutions. But again, that's a decision. I'm trying to explain why I left it in there, but it's wholly within your power to choose, if the council chooses to limit it just to ordinances.
In my opinion, it should be ordinances and resolutions, so that's my stand.
And I disagree, so let's take a vote.
and I'm okay with it being just
Settle it.
ordinances. And I think that, to Ms. Marchman's point, I mean, if you did limit it to things that only passed marginally, because isn't that why the veto is there supposedly? I mean, in theory, it's so that if you had something that was only marginally passed, then you want the mayor to be able to step in and say, hey, this thing is contentious. Let's rethink it.
Not only that,
That was
And I'm
one,
not
that was
ar-
one of the reasons that was given.
I'm not arguing in favor of it, but I will give the rationale. I think if somebody was trying to advocate that, part of the reason for a veto is, the mayor who is elected citywide has a responsibility to the entire city. If each of you are responsible to the entire city also, but you have a constituency that is limited to your ward, and you have to take their interest into account more than the overall interest of the city. You can, you don't have to. If the council votes 5-0 on a particular course of action, that's a pretty good indication that they're going to stick with that position. But it's not unreasonable for a mayor to veto that because he or she believes that it's not in the best interest of the overall city, and to veto it and to give the mayor's reasons for vetoing it, which they're required to do in writing. And so not only does that give the mayor the opportunity to convince those people who have voted for something to change their mind, and we've reduced the window of time within which the mayor has the ability to convince other people. But another factor that often comes into play is just the public opinion. As you're well aware, if the mayor vetoes something and then there is news media about it and there is a great public outcry to uphold the veto, then council members change their mind. If they suddenly realize that something that they were all in on is being met with great public disfavor, then that offers at least an opportunity to change it. So the time factor comes into play as well. And again, you don't have to have it, but that's the rationale for leaving it the way it is. And you've greatly reduced the time that comes into play.
Okay. How are we going to proceed, Mr. Mayor? You're the leader of this bunch.
Well, I've purposely been quiet because most of everything we've talked about in this charter has involved the mayor's powers. So, you know, I've let David pretty much guide the tone of the meetings because I felt like that was in the best interest of the city. So that's the same answer I gave you Thursday, I think. But, you know, whatever this council decides, certainly the mayor will live with. And then we'll hope that our Carroll County delegation believes that that's in the best interest of the city as well.
Well, just as a way of going forward, let me see if I can frame the question so that y'all can vote if that's what you want to do. I'm not trying to force that by any means, but I think you're to the point where we just need to make a decision. And I can try and frame a question, maybe 2 or 3 questions that y'all can vote on, and we can see what the vote is going to be, and then after that vote, you can decide whether or not you're going to be able to, whoever comes out on the short end of that is going to be able to concede or not. And I'm not urging you to. I think you ought to hold your ground if you feel strongly about something. The first question that I think that would be important to decide is, one, whether or not you're going to have a veto power for the mayor at all. I think that is probably question number 1, because if that doesn't, if that's not approved, then, you know, arguing about the details doesn't matter. And Mr. Mayor, you can either do it, or I can just kind of say what the question is and let y'all vote.
Please proceed.
Okay. So let's do that as the first issue is, are you in favor of providing that in the charter for the Billerica that the mayor would have the power to veto any action first? Yes or no?
Raise our
Yeah, yes, it'd be a raise of hand.
The power of veto.
The power of veto at all.
Of course.
Okay, so that's 5-0, so we got that question solved. The next question I think we can go to is, based on the current draft, the mayor is able to veto both ordinances and resolutions. So I'm going to do those separately. Are you okay with the mayor having the power to veto ordinances? Yes or no?
Just ordinances?
Just ordinances first. I'm going to come to resolutions next, Danny. So are you opposed to the mayor being able to veto ordinances?
I'm not opposed to ordinances. Okay, you're doing...
Yeah, I'm doing them separately,
Okay.
so that we'll know.
Ordinances is fine.
All right. The next question would be that there is language in there that the mayor would have the power to veto resolutions. So that's a yes or no vote. Yes.
Yes,
So that's 3. No would be 2. So that's one item of, and we'll come back to that. The next item would be Ms. Marchman's proposal that the mayor not have the power to veto actions that are approved by the council by a 5-0 vote. So this is, if you vote yes, you're approving what Ms. Marchman said, that a 5-0 vote is not vetoable. Yes or no? Okay, so we got 4-1 on that.
Let me I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
I don't think a mayor is crazy enough to go after a 5-0 vote.
Right. Okay.
Is the pizza here yet?
Does anybody have a problem with the council being able to delay an override vote for 30 days if they choose to? That's put in there in case, like at our work session, we had somebody out of town and somebody sick. You can't get up 4 votes.
I did hear your explanation on that. I thought that was very interesting.
All right, well, that, anybody else have any other issues they think we ought to vote on?
Maybe not an issue, but maybe a clarification. How does this fall into line item veto of the budget by the mayor?
That still would be in there, but budgets are approved through ordinances. That's a requirement. So a budget is an ordinance, and the charter does provide that they do have line item veto of that.
Okay.
Unless it's a 5-0 vote.
Yeah, if we go with this, if it was a 5-0 vote approving the budget, that would prevent them from being able to veto that.
Okay, if you're going to include the budget in that, I'm going to withdraw my vote on that one. It's going to be a 4-1. I think he needs to have the line item veto, even if we all approve it, because he might see something we don't see.
Yeah, that is a legitimate issue. Conceivably, you're approving a budget as a whole, and the charter does allow the mayor to line item veto. And if you approve the whole thing 5-0, do you intend for that to take away the power of a line item veto? I would not think so, because that is
not on the budget. I don't think so.
I would consider that. I considered that when we were thinking about it a few minutes ago, but our system is a little unique. The mayor participates in all of the budget hearings. He's part of running the meetings. He knows every single item that's going to be in the budget all the way through. So any objections, I would think, would have been raised by then, and you couldn't have got a 5-0 if the council wasn't going to approve it 5-0.
There's a lot to a budget, and it's easy for anyone to overlook something that the mayor might object to. And
So am I understanding you that if we approved the fact that it was not vetoable, if the budget passed by 5, then that would also, we'd have to alter the charter in another way, because then the mayor could not have the line item veto? Am I understanding you correct on that?
You were, but let me see if I can address that. I'm reading it now, rather than just answering it off the top of my head. The veto power on the items of appropriation are in a separate section. If you look at 2.27,
Okay.
I think we could word it, if you want to proceed with Ms. Marchman's thought about a 5-0 vote can't be vetoable, then that could be put in subsection B, but we could make sure that subsection D, which specifically addresses line item vetoes, does not include that 5-0 language.
For the budget.
Right.
Okay. He still could do something with the budget if he wanted to. Line up. Okay.
If you're okay with that.
Okay.
So let me ask that as the last question. Are you okay with leaving the mayor the power to line item veto, even if the overall budget is approved 5-0? If you are okay with that, raise your hand as a yes.
Yep.
All right. So we're down to we got
We're getting there.
2 issues. One is on the issue of, is it just going to be ordinances, or is it going to be ordinances and resolutions? The vote on that was 3-2 in favor of leaving ordinances and resolutions. I guess either the minority report can argue to change 3 votes, or the minority can choose to go along with the majority on that point. And I don't know how else to resolve that.
Well, I would try to give an argument if I thought it would change anything, but we've been working on this a long time. Everybody's had plenty of time to think about it, so I kind of doubt that somebody's going to change their mind on something like that. So I will concede on that because I think it's important enough to me that we get a better charter done. We may not get everything we want, but we vastly improve what we had. And if we can't get that unless we're all in agreement, then that's my compromise.
Okay, we're down to one minority.
Make a case.
I made my case in email, writing, talking to everybody and everything else. It's been done.
Is it that important to you?
My concern is that it has said ordinances all along. It's never said all this other language. So I never understood why we were adding that to begin with.
And the mayor's been allowed to veto just about anything all along.
My guess is because that's the way it was playing out.
It was. I mean, it had played out that way for 20-something years until
He's always vetoed.
the issue was actually raised maybe a year and a half ago, and it
just
threw the
wasn't
city
in writing.
It threw it into a little bit of turmoil.
So the 4 that you have is for both the
Correct.
resolution? Okay, so you just need that one.
We only did the ordinance and resolutions. We threw away the trivial stuff, so we can't.
The other.
Yeah, the other council measures.
You know, you've made a change to how we operate a little bit by putting the motions in the cover sheets. But I'm thinking back to when I was at Macon. Unless I'm just crazy and making this up, every single item that went to council there was an ordinance or a resolution, period. No exceptions ever. And even in that situation, I think the mayor was able to veto anything, and it worked. Now that's a full-time mayor, right? So you have a CEO kind of mayor there, but I don't fear that here or anywhere because you still can do override. So I mean, I'd like to see us move more toward that kind of approach where ordinances are ordinances and resolutions are resolutions, and we do that more often. It's just we're not there yet, but I think that I think we're headed that way. It's a little bit more formal.
We've been doing it that way all along. We just haven't had it in writing, so.
Yeah, I'm talking about in writing.
Yeah, it had to be.
Formal resolutions, ordinances. Yep.
Is that the final question?
It is. I mean, we're just down to, we don't have a unanimous consensus on that issue as to whether or not resolutions and ordinances would both be included in the veto language.
What was that vote, the last vote?
Well,
It's
with
4-1
with
now.
Councilwoman McPherson's concession there, we have one person who is still.
4-1.
Yeah.
4-1.
It's kind of puts you on the hot seat.
I just like his expression, just one person.
I was trying to figure out what to say without.
I'm okay with going along with it. I just didn't understand why we wanted to add to something that's been working for 25 years. I've had to hear about how that,
because
that was never needed.
It wasn't being adhered to, which is one of our
It didn't even
problems.
happen. I've heard that, and now I'm hearing that, oh my goodness, without that, I mean, you could hamper the whole process. So I'll go along with it.
We're really not changing anything. He's been vetoing.
That's what that's not changing.
You're changing the language without changing.
They are changing
You
it.
put it in writing. He was always doing it.
You got your.
All right, so the only thing then that, in the draft that you have, that will be changed, is subsection, I'm trying to think of subsection B, is going to specifically state that other than as provided in subsection D, any council action approved by a 5-0 vote shall not be, the mayor may not veto that. And I'll word it better, but that's essentially what it's going to say.
Repeat that, 'cause I didn't.
Okay, let me see if I can word it correctly. In subsection B, I'll probably add a sentence somewhere in that subsection where it best applicable to say, other than as provided in subsection D below, the mayor shall not have the power to veto any action taken by the council on a 5-0 vote.
But now subsection D, what we were talking about was the budget. Subsection D is not limited to the budget. It's any items of appropriation. That means any item that comes before the council that spends money is what that means, right?
That's intended to be a budget ordinance, and, that's what that addresses, is really budget. You make appropriations through your budget.
Right? But you can also spend money in other ways all through the year. If you do, you might make an amendment.
Only, yeah, but if you make an amendment to the budget, that's through a budget amendment, and that would be subject to being vetoed. I mean, but you can't appropriate money other than through a change to the budget.
Right, so, but I just want to be clear that everybody understands what they're doing.
Right.
It's even still, anything that happens all through the year, if you spend money, regardless of a 5-0 vote, it is still subject to being vetoed.
Correct. Yeah, that's right. So other than the
Little to no change.
section that I read there, which I will make change and send out to you tomorrow, then you're to the point of voting on the resolution that transmits this to the legislature. I think you have a copy of that.
Where's this section D at? What page you're on?
It's on page 9. Section 2.27D.
My printer wasn't working, so I couldn't print out the latest copy, but I knew it's just slightly different.
I really don't understand why we're worried about a 5-0 vote, How many mayors have we had that would go up against a 5-0 vote? None.
Maybe been one or two.
Well, Jay Collins would never do it.
I didn't say Jay. I've been here a few years. They was one or two.
I thought we settled that one.
So, David, we're not going to vote on this obviously tonight, so you'll send that to us. Do we still have time to have a meeting in March and still get this to our?
No.
So we'll have to have a special call meeting.
If you don't vote on it tonight, it's not going to go in the time.
Can we vote on it
We
tonight?
can't vote on something we haven't seen.
Do you think we can vote on it tonight?
We just verbally said everything in an open meeting that's recorded. It's all recorded
I will vote for it.
and archived.
If you want me to go write it down, if you want to if you got some other business to be doing, I'll go write it down. But if you don't do it tonight, it isn't going to get done.
Yeah, because what's crossover day? The end of the 29th, they're done March 29th.
Today's the 6th of February.
Sunny Die is March 29, I think. I could be wrong. 28,
Last year we
29.
talked about all the way to the end of February. Started her up there.
And they usually do these type of things right in the beginning because at the end, it won't happen at the end. They get slammed with all kinds of bills. If they don't do these type in the beginning, they usually don't go through.
Let me ask the question. If we don't do anything about a 5-0 vote, if we don't try to put that in here, is everything okay now? If we just forget about that? I mean, we're putting something in that's going to require us to make a change, so is it really necessary to have that in here?
Did we make another change?
No.
Then we wouldn't vote it.
No, the only language I'm adding is in response to that
5-0
change that y'all wanted to make about providing that a 5-0 vote.
So that's what's.
And so you're saying that just because it's not written, you're not gonna vote for it.
No, I'm just saying that's what's holding it up.
No, I'm talking to Gil.
Well, it needs to be written down so we can see what it says.
He's saying he won't vote unless it's written down.
That's what I'm saying. You saying if you're not written, then you're not gonna vote.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that Gil's saying he won't vote unless it's all in writing.
I'm asking Gil, is that what he's saying?
Oh, you're asking Gil. You're looking at me and asking Gil, okay.
Yeah, that's and you answer. I'm asking Gil.
All right, tell us again what you're going to write, David.
Let me write it down as first.
Write it down, please.
I mean, in your business, I understand
That's right.
your point.
We write
I understand
every
your point
word.
about seeing things in
was my
writing
point.
and seeing
But
it
you're right.
before
It's
you
gone on here
sign.
for 150
Because
years
in a
without
sense,
it,
you're
so
signing your name to it,
doing
so
it that way.
I understand it.
That was my point. We just leave it alone and we finished.
Why don't we let
Right, really
the
fast.
city manager do his report while David is prepared?
Yeah.
David, do you feel like he can do that while he gives his report and then
Oh,
we?
yeah.
Okay, let's do that then. I'll take control of the meeting again. Tab K, city manager's report, Mr. Barber.
All right. First item, personnel. Our new library manager started work yesterday. Her name is Yvette, help me, Stephanie Bridges, Yvette Bridges. She came to a staff meeting, met the department heads. We're encouraged. She's got great experience and is, I think, very passionate about that part of the world and what she does. So I think we're going to be happy with her effort there. GDOT update is we continue to work through a number of issues with them. Bobby and I tried to meet with the District 7 engineers, which is the Douglas side of the operation. They're in Chamblee, I think, and that got popped because of the winter weather, and so we're back on for Wednesday the 14th, so we'll be going over to meet with them. I have not yet reached out to Jay Roberts about the North Loop construction, but that still needs to happen. I've spent some more time talking with Grant Waldrop, who's the Carroll district engineer, the Cartersville office, and I don't hear anything from him ever when we talk about Rocky Branch that makes me think that a traffic light is even remotely likely to happen there. They're just, no matter how he's done the counts, whether even when he only does them during right before school and right after school, there's not enough left turns. So we're looking at some other things there. I put together the application letter for the lighting at I-20 and 61 on the interchange. The mayor just signed it tonight, so we'll get that going and see where that takes us. It looks to me like the beginning of the improvements at Hickory Level and 61 have started. They're starting to cut for that left turn lane that's going to be a little bit closer to in the median, so that there's a separation, a physical separation between the turn lane and the travel lanes. Let's see what else. There's nothing else. None of the other items have I made any progress on. Norfolk Southern, we're still trying to work with Douglas County on getting a warning signal to indicate up at the water tank and the Waffle House at Connors and Liberty Mirror Lake, telling people that the crossing is blocked. So we're still trying to go through that. One thing that came out of my conversations with Connor Poe, who's the liaison guy that Mr. Collins mentioned earlier that we're meeting with, is that the source of the problem that we're experiencing is, if I can read between the lines of things he's told me, is the Savannah Port. So the Savannah Port's volume is up and increasing, and me reading between the lines, what it looks like to me is that we've moved the bottleneck of volume from the port to the railroad, and so the railroads are just jammed with business, and so they're building as long a trains as they can build, and they're stacking them where they can stack them, and to handle volume. It's a capacity issue, so I don't see that doing anything but getting worse. All right, so none of that sounds happy to me. We communicated to the parties involved our decision on Project Roll. We've had a couple of meetings about that, about what's going to happen with the bank and buying the building and all that. So I think something really good's going to come out of that, but I don't know exactly where that's going to fall, but I'll keep you posted. Nothing happening on the train yet, Nick? No parts in? Imminent this month, maybe? Okay, so Nick will be a train engineer here pretty soon and be maintaining the train. Nothing on the GFA application yet. We've got one of the RFQs out and back, which is to make improvements at the water plant to give us some redundancy and reduce our reliance on Carroll County. We're working on the second one now, which will be Liberty Road, Pool, that whole area, and fire flow. HEH came out yesterday. Charlie, is that right? Start working on paving? Bird Baths driveways on Clearview. They were doing bird baths? Okay, so they're starting to work. The LMIG for 18 contract went to C.W. Matthews. We've had a pre-construction, right, sort of. And March of 18 is what we're looking at, and we're thinking 3 weeks to do that whole project. We got the core samples back from Piedmont Geotechnical that you approved. Most of them were on Temple in front of, right here, in front of this building, going down to the end of the block. And what they showed us is multiple inches of asphalt, 1 to 3 inches of asphalt on top of at least 5 inches of concrete, pretty much all the way through here. Punkintown was awful. Punkintown core samples came back. There is not a nugget of base on that road that we can tell. No base. That is an asphalt only disaster. So that's a full depth reclamation project, a lot of money. Probably going to want, Pete and I were just talking today, probably going to want to put in a water line, a big trunk line, like a 12-inch line in there for looping. So big money. And as I've told you before, the disappointment there is most of Punkintown is in Carroll and not Douglas. So the way that impacts SPLOST doesn't help us. I went to a meeting on service delivery. I don't think I mentioned this to you. It was hosted by Mount Zion. The cities that were there discussed the possibility of hiring a consultant to help us get ready for service delivery talks. He was far and away the most knowledgeable guy I've listened to in my whole career about the subject. He's a CPA, former municipal auditor, so he knows the governmental side. He became a county commissioner and chairman of some small county someplace north of us, I think, and then inadvertently became a service delivery consultant. And he can talk about that subject more clearly than anybody I've ever listened to. So if we get this guy, I think he'll help us, and he'll educate us too. Mirror Lake Connector, we have had a meeting. Chris and I have met with Walsh and BMK. It became apparent to us in the meeting for the first time that there is a serious topo problem with Mirror Lake Connector. There is a creek that runs sort of kind of parallel to Punkintown that we have to go seriously downhill into and over and back up, which is going to create another 10 or 12% grade road, which is not ideal. So we've got some work to do on that. They also feel like, unlike their earlier work, that alignment running into Stone, which is the other side of Avante instead of North Carroll, which is right here, works better. So that's sort of where they're thinking. The walking trail has been a conversation piece. Chris and I went to Carrollton, met with Erica Studdard, who is over the project now. She worked for the nonprofit that built most of it and then went to work for Carrollton. Carrollton now runs their green belt and is doing the maintenance. She said there's two things you got to do before you build a green belt like they did. She said you have to create a nonprofit to help you with fundraising, and she told us a way to do that was pretty cost effective. And you've got to have at least one large committed donor, or you're just spinning your wheels, in her words. So $25 at a pop doesn't get you a mile, a million a mile. You got to have somebody really putting some money in it. The conversation that you've been having with Sarah here about BOD included a meeting with, I think, 7 of us when we were talking about this. That was the best example of what happens when you lose institutional knowledge I've ever seen in my whole life. It made the blind leading the blind look informed. We had, none of us knew the history, why we had done what we done. We were doing it wrong. The rate was too low. We were doing it inconsistently, even when we were doing it wrong. What else? It was the worst. It was embarrassing. If I had a video of it, I think I could sell it for like $1 million as a case study of what happens when you have turnover. Fulton County Schools had an annex in East Point that they closed back in 14 and just walked away from. Didn't take anything with them that I can tell. An acquaintance or relative or something of Chief Mansour bought the building, and we were able to go over there and salvage desks and marker boards and printers and chairs and all kind of junk. So we did that last week. It's in the old library, and we're going to be going through that and replacing furniture. Lots of almost new desks. Some really nice stuff.
Who walked away from that?
Fulton County Schools. They had a north and a south annex, and they closed the south annex about 3.5 years ago and consolidated into the north one and just walked away. Three-story building. Yeah, 3-story building. How many square feet do you think? 70,000 square feet, big building. All right, Caffey has come back around. You got the email or letter the other day. My recommendation to you, what I'd like you to authorize me to do, is to select option 3 of that email, which is to suggest to them that they tear down the building and cart it off. So any objections to that, I'd like to do that if nobody objects. Caffey. The Caffey building that the one behind us. Yeah, it's a private building on our land. It looks to me like that's where the road's going if we do the connector. So we don't want to give a long-term lease there.
But you communicated with them.
I have not. I'm waiting to
I
see
think
if y'all
they
look
have
at
the
it.
right to come get the building if they want.
Oh yeah, they can. Yeah, that was their option, was to tear it down.
From
But yeah, they can tear it
California.
down or move it. I don't care.
No, not them.
All right, water authorities. So Pete and I met with the Douglas Water Authority yesterday for 2.5 hours. We talked through a new agreement at length. I think we're getting closer to the possibility of having a proposal that we could actually entertain. And Pete and I are meeting with the Carroll Water Authority this Thursday. So this is going to be a big week for Water Authority conversations. And then the last item is meetings that we've had or that I've attended. We had a couple of campaign kickoffs last week. If you didn't get a chance to go, Clint Chance had his on Monday. Well attended, pretty energetic. And then Matt Montahan, who's on 1 or 2 of our boards, I think, had his on Thursday. No comparison to attendance, energy. It was not a good start for his campaign. So I appreciate those of you that went to that, but that was apples and oranges, different kind of experience. Carroll Chamber had their awards dinner Friday night. As it would happen, the Citizen of the Year award went to Steve Adams, who we're dealing with on another project. And tomorrow, Chris and his group are hosting a meeting of Main Street managers from some region. How big of a chunk of the state? Like 15 cities or so? Something like that. And that's going to be at Uncourt. All right, so that's what's been going on. Questions about any of that? That's on us.
Well, just a question on a project, a couple of projects, and
Okay.
you said HEH was back out here.
Right.
Are they the ones, who's going to be doing the crosswalk at Wilson Street? What's the update on that?
They will. Yeah,
So
that's in their contract.
And, you know, I get this question occasionally from the public, the road at the post office, which is not on city property.
Right.
We were negotiating with the property owner. Is that still moving forward?
No. So one of the things that's going to have to come back to council now is, now that we voted to not give up the building, do we want to voluntarily move? You know, do we still want to go to the old library? And so we posed the question in staff meeting Monday, and I would say at least 3 or 4 staff strongly want to move. Of those, you know, which is pretty much all the staff that are in City Hall right now want to go. It's better for Sarah's operation to go to the Georgia Power Building because one person can work the window and the drive-through at the same time. That's more effective. Anyway, so everybody's got their own reasons for moving. So we may still go that route. If we do that, then we still go down the path of putting in the golf cart connection and taking that land and building that road. If we don't go back there, we don't have a reason to do that other than we just want to do it.
So is this being communicated to the property owner where
I have
we
not
are?
he doesn't know about Project Roll, I don't think. I mean, I've not told him
Yeah,
that
but he
that
wouldn't
it's
have
fallen
to.
through.
He would just know we might be moving, we might not.
Yeah, I've not told him anything's changed. So I'll bring something back to you next time, and I'll be talking to you between now and then to see if we have support for actually voluntarily moving City Hall and just vacating our building. The danger to that is that building is not going to improve from us being gone. So that's maybe not great for that building to be vacated, but
Put a footnote on that one. I think we need to discuss that.
we do. I haven't talked to any of y'all about it, just the staff.
And the only other question I would have is limbs on right-of-ways. Are we moving in that direction? I know we did on one road.
I don't think we're caught up yet.
Oh, I know we're not caught up.
We are, and I directed staff to go ahead and, as soon as we get the chipper truck back together, which should be Friday, then they're going to also clean up on our DOT roads within the city limits too. But by this time next week, it should be in pretty good shape.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Tom, your comment about DOT on Rocky Branch,
Right.
and I think you said they don't have enough left-hand turns coming out of there?
Right.
Well, there's 3 parking lots there, okay? One parking lot is directed to come out there, and they're directed to turn right. The back 2 parking lots go out and go down to Van Wert and turn right and go out at the light.
Right.
The other ones, they are going back toward Carrollton, turn left at that point. So there's no reason to have anybody come out on 78 to turn left. All of them are directed to do that, and they've been doing that for quite a while. But if this guy, you know, and I don't know if this guy's saying how many cars are over there or not. I'd be willing to say he cannot tell you how many parking passes are at Tasco. Because he didn't go ask.
So they basically have solved the problem by rerouting people. That's interesting. I'll tell him that because he doesn't know that. I didn't know that.
David?
Yep, I'm ready. I just sent everybody an email, if you got your cell phones with you, that has some proposed language on it. For those of you who don't, I'll just read it. And this is adding to section 2.27A, which is the section about the vetoes, and it's going to be added to that section. It's going to say, except as provided in subsection D below, no ordinance or written resolution adopted with 5 affirmative votes of the city council may be disapproved by veto of the mayor. You want me to read that again?
I like it.
I read it. Are you ready to move?
Yep. I think we're to the point, if that's acceptable to you, to vote
is
on
very much.
on the resolution.
To me, it is.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
There is a written resolution.
Is there one written?
Yes.
I've already packed up.
And it's a resolution.
Okay, you're replacing item A, is that what it is?
I'm adding a sentence to section 2.27A.
This comes after the word mayor.
Yes, it comes after mayor.
Okay.
David.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Who wants to make it?
You'll bring it to me. Just
You might want to read it. I mean, I'll
whole
read
thing? Okay. I would make a motion to adopt the resolution as I'm about to read. Whereas the mayor and council have engaged in a review of the existing city charter for the city of Villa Rica over the course of the past year and one half, and whereas the city has solicited and received public input both in writing and in public hearings, and whereas the mayor and council have extensively discussed revisions to the charter, and whereas the mayor and council have unanimously agreed on proposed changes to the Villa Rica City Charter to be submitted to the Georgia General Assembly for consideration. Now, therefore, be it hereby resolved that the mayor and council of the city of Villa Rica do unanimously request that the proposed city charter attached hereto as Exhibit A be submitted to the city of Villa Rica legislative delegation for introduction into the Georgia General Assembly for passage during the 2018 session of the General Assembly. It is so resolved on this, the 6th day of February 2018.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Have multiple seconds. Any discussion? Lord of hope. All in favor? It is unanimous.
Do we need to sign this, David?
Yes, please. I'd like to attach that to the draft.
David, do we have executive session?
No.
I would entertain a motion that we adjourn. Have a motion, second. All in favor? We are adjourned.
It's so late. Hey. That's it.
Do we need to do two of them, David, or just one?
Pardon?
Both or just one?